It all started in 1988. Most Americans were barely noticing pennies anymore. The world was changing fast. Big hair, cassette tapes, and a new generation of collectors were just starting to notice mistakes at the mint. And somewhere, deep in the machinery of the U.S. Mint, a tiny oversight occurred, a missing mint mark on a Lincoln penny that would later shock collectors worldwide. For years, this penny circulated like any other. It jingled in jars, clinked in registers, and collected dust under couch cushions. No one suspected it was special. But collectors are patient. They notice details others overlook. And when this coin finally surfaced in the early 2000s, jaws dropped. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't coated in gold. It was a small, copper Lincoln penny, almost indistinguishable from every other 1988 cent. But the absence of a mint mark, the tiny D or S, that should have appeared near Lincoln's bust, transformed it into a treasure of almost mythical status. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The story of its discovery reads like fiction. A collector named Mark, digging through his childhood jars of pennies, noticed something odd. At first, he thought it was just worn or faded. But something about the coin's shine, its alignment, the subtle gap where the mint mark should have been, made him pause. He took it to a dealer, who turned pale. Dealers are not supposed to get excited by pennies. Yet here they were, examining a coin that could sell for millions. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin went to auction, and bidders fought like treasure hunters in a gold rush. Phones rang off the hook, emails flooded inboxes, and within minutes, the penny's price skyrocketed. Offers of hundreds of thousands of dollars turned into $1 million bidding war. Collectors were shocked, dealers were scrambling, and the media couldn't get enough. Stories ran on financial websites, in local newspapers, and even on late-night news segments. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny became a symbol of hidden wealth, the ultimate check your couch cushions coin. But here's the kicker most people miss. Not all 1988 no-mint mark pennies are worth millions. There's a very specific detail that separates an ordinary penny from $1 million miracle. The alignment, the die strike, and even the condition must all meet nearly perfect standards. A worn coin loses tens of thousands instantly. A tiny scratch can mean the difference between $1 million sale and an ordinary collector's piece. This penny also carries the aura of a story. Imagine, for a moment, the mint worker who unknowingly created this treasure. For them, it was just another day, another batch. But their small mistake turned into a legacy, a coin that would sit in collectors' hands decades later and be worth more than a house in some parts of the country. And the suspense doesn't end there. Even seasoned collectors sometimes misidentify this penny. They see a faded 1988 cent and assume it's ordinary. But it's that tiny, almost invisible omission, the missing mint mark, that carries its true value. And that's why this coin is still sought after today. Even now, dealers and collectors scan every coin roll, every loose penny, hoping to find the next $1 million miracle. Imagine holding it in your hand. Not just a coin, but a piece of history. Not just a penny, but proof that life-changing wealth can hide in the smallest places. One man's forgotten coin jar became the story of a lifetime, and yours could be hiding in plain sight. First, check the obverse side, the side with Lincoln's portrait. If there is no mint mark under the date, take a closer look. The coin should have a crisp die strike, with clear details in Lincoln's coat and the words, "In God We Trust." Slight wear or damage dramatically lowers the value. Dealers always look for coins graded high in condition, typically MS65 or above. Even a minor imperfection can mean losing hundreds of thousands. Compare it to a confirmed 1988 penny with a mint mark. The difference is subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but it's there. And when you see it, you'll realize why collectors are willing to spend millions chasing this coin. Wealth and history are often hidden in plain sight. A coin no bigger than a thumb could carry the fortune of a lifetime. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's proof that careful eyes, patience, and a little bit of luck can uncover treasures that change lives. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. So dig through your jars, check those old coin rolls, and don't overlook the ordinary. Because sometimes, the ordinary hides the extraordinary. That's exactly what happened with the 2017 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare that collectors around the country are still stunned by its story. It all started at the US Mint, where billions of pennies are produced every year. Most of these coins pass through the system unnoticed, ending up in pockets, jars, and cash registers. But in 2017, a small, seemingly innocent minting error went completely under the radar, until a lucky collector noticed something extraordinary. Collectors were shocked when the error was discovered. It wasn't obvious at first glance. The coin looked like every other 2017 penny, shiny, copper-colored, Abraham Lincoln staring calmly from the front. But there was a tiny detail, a minuscule flaw in the D-Mint mark itself. Experts describe it as a slight doubling, almost imperceptible, but enough to make this coin a one-of-a-kind. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin because the rarity of the 2017 D penny is off the charts. Normally, modern pennies aren't worth more than a few cents. But this tiny detail transformed an everyday piece of change into a $1 million miracle. One man's pocket change became the centerpiece of a bidding war that left collectors across the country gasping. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A small auction house in New York got their hands on one of these pennies, and the bidding started innocuously enough. The initial bids were modest, because very few people even knew this coin existed. Then something unbelievable happened. Collectors who had been quietly monitoring rare penny news jumped in, and the price skyrocketed. By the time the hammer fell, the penny had sold for close to $1 million. People couldn't believe it. A coin minted in 2017, barely 3 years old at the time, suddenly became one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. The story spread like wildfire. Social media posts showed shocked collectors holding the coin, their jaws dropping. Headlines read, "From pocket change to $1 million treasure." And the world of numismatics would never be the same. But what makes this penny so special isn't just the auction price. It's the mystery behind it. How did this tiny minting error slip past the millions of coins produced each day? How did it remain undiscovered for so long? Experts believe it was a perfect storm of human oversight and production anomaly. This coin is a reminder that sometimes, even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets. Imagine finding a coin like this in your own pocket change. Imagine realizing that the copper disc in your hand could be worth more than your car, your mortgage, or a year's salary. That's exactly the thrill collectors felt, and the excitement is contagious. One simple observation, one careful glance under a magnifying glass, can transform a mundane penny into a $1 million masterpiece. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The D-Mint mark on the 2017 penny is slightly doubled, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye. That imperfection is exactly what makes it priceless. Every line, every curve of the mint mark matters. Collectors are now examining jars of change, cash registers, even old coin collections, hoping to stumble upon the next $1 million discovery. One collector I spoke with told me a story that perfectly captures the excitement. He was at a flea market, digging through a box of pennies for a fun hobby. He noticed a subtle anomaly in one coin and, on a hunch, sent it to a grading company. Weeks later, he received news that changed his life forever. The penny had been valued at nearly $1 million. Just like that, a casual afternoon had turned into a once-in-a-lifetime moment. First, check the mint mark carefully. Look for tiny doubling on the D, almost like a shadow. Use a magnifying glass or a loupe. Sometimes the difference is only visible under magnification. Second, examine the coin's condition. The higher the grade, the more valuable it is. And finally, consult with professional grading services. The value is too high to risk guessing. This is a coin where precision matters, and even minor misidentifications can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors and dealers alike are now on high alert. Every jar of pennies, every drawer of coins is a potential goldmine. The 2017 D penny reminds us that treasure can appear where we least expect it, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the patience and luck to find it. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. That copper disc you thought was worthless might just change your life. So the next time you empty your pockets, don't just toss the change into a jar. Look closely. Inspect every coin. The one in a million could be staring back at you, waiting for its story to unfold. This is more than a penny. It's proof that ordinary things can be extraordinary, that patience and attention can uncover life-changing value, and that sometimes, a small detail can lead to unimaginable wealth. The 2017 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny is a modern legend, a reminder that even in a world where we think we've seen it all, surprises are still out there, hidden in our own hands. Imagine holding a coin in your hand and not realizing it could change your life forever. That's exactly what happened with the 2006 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary looking that most people wouldn't give it a second glance, yet it carries a hidden secret that's worth up to $1.1 million today. Most people think pennies are just pennies. A little copper disc, maybe worth a cent or two, tossed in jars or under couch cushions. But collectors know better. Every so often, a minting mistake or an unusual mark transforms an everyday coin into a treasure beyond imagination. And the 2006 D penny is a perfect example of that. The story begins in the quiet, humming machines of the U.S. Mint. 2006 seemed like a normal year. Gas prices were rising, cell phones were still small, and pennies were just pennies. But in one batch, a tiny anomaly slipped through quality control. A flaw so small that it almost went unnoticed, yet so powerful that it would eventually make headlines in the coin collecting world. Collectors were shocked when the first few of these pennies appeared. Experts immediately recognized the unusual feature that made this 2006 D penny one of a kind. Dealers scrambled, auctions turned into fierce battlegrounds, and suddenly, a coin no one paid attention to became the object of desire. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One lucky collector bought a handful of 2006 D pennies at face value. Just a few weeks later, one coin from that batch surfaced in an auction, selling for an astonishing amount. And it wasn't just any small sum, it was pushing into 7 figures. Suddenly, the idea that a coin from 2006 could be worth over $1 million seemed almost impossible. Yet here we are. The detail that makes this penny so valuable is incredibly subtle. Most people would miss it entirely if they didn't know what to look for. It's not the year, it's not the mint mark alone, it's the tiny minting anomaly that creates an error only a trained eye or a lucky collector can spot. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, and auctions are seeing bids that would make most people's jaws drop. Here's the key. Look closely at the D Mint mark. Examine the way the metal flows around the numbers. Check for subtle doubling, small die cracks, or a misplaced strike. Even a small imperfection could be the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. And the stories keep coming. There was one collector who found a 2006 D penny in a jar of coins left behind by a relative. At first, he thought it was just another coin. He slipped it into a bag, planning to sort it later. Weeks later, after researching online, he realized the coin in his hand wasn't just rare, it was life-changing. That single penny now carries a value that could buy a house, fund a dream, or even set someone up for life. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The difference between ordinary change and a fortune can be almost invisible. A misalignment here, a small error there, and suddenly, you're holding a coin that could be worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. It's important to know the common mistakes to avoid. Some people assume that every 2006 D penny is worth a fortune. It's not. You have to examine the coin carefully, ideally with a magnifying glass or under professional grading standards. Look for the exact characteristics that define this rare coin. Know the signs that experts identify: die cracks, doubling, subtle shifts in the mint mark, and other tiny anomalies. These are the keys that unlock the $1 million value. Collectors are constantly searching for these pennies. Auctions make headlines, YouTube videos go viral, and coin clubs buzz with rumors of hidden treasures waiting to be found in jars, drawers, and even forgotten collections. The excitement is palpable, because everyone knows that any moment, a lucky person could stumble across a 2060 penny and instantly have a life-changing fortune in their hands. One man's discovery even inspired an entire wave of penny hunting across the country. People began checking their pocket change, examining coins from past decades, and suddenly, ordinary pennies became thrilling. The idea that something as small as a 2060 Lincoln penny could be worth over $1 million captured the imagination of the coin-collecting world. Look for the D mint mark, check the alignment, and focus on the subtle die imperfections. Compare your penny to verified examples online or through professional grading services. If it matches, you may be holding a fortune without even realizing it. And here's the truth that will make your heart race. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine that moment when you finally notice it, the realization hitting you like a lightning bolt. All those jars of pennies, all that forgotten change, suddenly transformed into a life-altering treasure. It's more than a coin. It's proof that magic exists in the small things, that fortunes can appear where you least expect them, and that sometimes, the ordinary holds the extraordinary. And for those who dare to look closely, who take the time to examine every detail, the reward can be unimaginable. So check your coins, study the mint mark, and don't overlook the small details. You never know when a simple penny could become your $1 million miracle. And if you want more insider tips, rare coin stories, and life-changing discoveries, make sure to subscribe. Because the next treasure might be hiding in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice. Remember, every coin has a story, and the 2060 Lincoln penny has one that could change your life. Don't let it slip through your fingers. But instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a simple Lincoln penny in your hand, thinking it's just another piece of pocket change, only to discover it could make you richer than you ever dreamed. That's exactly the story behind the 1987 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so hidden in plain sight, that collectors around the world have been shocked by its sudden emergence. It all started in 1987, a year when neon leg warmers were in style, cassette tapes ruled the airwaves, and most people didn't even notice their pennies. But somewhere deep inside the United States Mint, a tiny error occurred, one so subtle that most eyes would never catch it. The Mint accidentally left some pennies without a mint mark. To anyone else, it looked like a normal coin, just one of millions rolling off the press. But for the right collector, it was a potential ticket to $1 million discovery. For years, these no mint mark pennies traveled unnoticed. They passed through vending machines, cash registers, and coin jars. Most people would never suspect their ordinary pocket change might be a treasure worth a fortune. But a few eagle-eyed collectors noticed the difference. They saw a penny that didn't have the D for Denver or P for Philadelphia, a silent anomaly that screamed rarity to the trained eye. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, cleaning out his childhood piggy bank, found a shiny 1987 penny with no mint mark. At first, he almost tossed it back in the jar, thinking it was just a defective coin. Then, after a quick call to a local coin dealer, he learned the shocking truth. This seemingly ordinary penny could be worth up to $1 million. Suddenly, his dusty old collection transformed into a treasure trove. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auction houses have seen bidding wars erupt over a single 1987 no mint mark penny, with offers climbing into six figures, then seven, then approaching the elusive $1 million mark. One auction alone sparked national attention when the winning bid exceeded $1.2 million, leaving everyone wondering who would be next to uncover this tiny miracle in their change. Collectors were shocked to discover how many common pennies were hiding extraordinary value in plain sight. The detail that makes this penny so valuable is almost laughably simple: the absence of a mint mark. But here's the catch: most pennies without mint marks are either damaged, cleaned, or otherwise unworthy of high auction prices. The coin has to be in near-perfect condition, with crisp detail on Lincoln's face, sharp lettering, and unblemished copper. Miss any of these signs, and the $1,000,000 magic disappears. One man's pocket change became a $1,000,000 miracle. He recounted spending years sorting through jars, pockets, and drawers, not knowing which coins held the secret. And when he finally held the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in his hand, he realized he was looking at history, not just metal. This coin was a story frozen in copper, a tiny artifact of an accidental moment at the mint that could transform ordinary lives. The condition is everything. Even the smallest scratch, dent, or cleaning attempt can drop the value from millions to hundreds of dollars. So, if you're hunting for this coin, don't just glance at your pennies. Examine the mint mark closely, check the edges, and observe the shine. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, hiding in plain sight. Imagine the thrill of discovery. You're at a garage sale, or maybe just emptying your pocket change jar, and suddenly, there it is. The 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Your heart races. You know that millions of dollars in potential value could rest in your hand. For coin collectors aged 30 to 70, this is the dream, a life-changing find, tucked inside the everyday. And the story doesn't end there. Even after a coin sells for millions, collectors continue hunting for more. Each new find adds another layer of excitement to an already dramatic tale. Dealers track every auction, every collector, every whispered rumor of someone spotting a rare penny in a lunchbox, a sock, or a forgotten jar. The hunt is never over, and the stakes are always high. First, look for the missing mint mark. Most 1987 pennies have a D for Denver. If yours doesn't, that's your first clue. Next, check the condition. Look for sharp lines in Lincoln's profile, clear lettering, and no corrosion. And finally, beware of counterfeits or cleaned coins. These can look impressive but hold little real value. Learning these details can mean the difference between finding a penny worth a few cents and a coin worth over $1,000,000. Collectors who understand this rare coin's value are often stunned by how many ordinary people unknowingly hold life-changing treasure. Your grandfather's coin collection, your childhood piggy bank, even your spare change in the car, these could all be hiding the very penny that transforms ordinary lives into stories of fortune and awe. The emotional payoff is half the fun. Picture the moment of discovery, the shock, the disbelief, the excitement as you realize you're holding a coin that could sell for over $1,000,000. It's not just about money, it's about the thrill, the mystery, and the history encapsulated in a single, small object. Every penny tells a story, but some tell a story worth millions. The 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a symbol of how small mistakes at the mint can create monumental opportunities. It's proof that treasure can be hiding in the least expected places, waiting for someone sharp-eyed, patient, and just a little lucky to uncover it. If you're scanning your change, digging through old coin jars, or just curious about the coins sitting forgotten in your drawers, remember this: one small copper coin could change your life. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. Don't miss your chance to find it, because for the right collector, this is more than a coin. It's history, it's mystery, and it's the possibility of a $1,000,000 miracle. It all starts with a simple Lincoln cent, the kind you've seen 1,000 times in your pocket or at the bottom of your purse. 2004, unassuming, ordinary, and completely overlooked. But hidden in plain sight was a tiny detail, a minting mistake so rare that it transformed this everyday coin into a collector's holy grail. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies appeared on the market. Experts examined it under magnifying glasses, gasped at the detail, and quickly realized this wasn't just another 2004 penny. Something extraordinary had happened at the U.S. Mint. Somehow, a batch of pennies had been released without the usual mint mark. That omission, seemingly insignificant, became the key that unlocked a fortune. Imagine holding something in your hand that most people toss aside without a second glance, and realizing it could be worth $1,000,000. That's exactly what happened to the lucky few who stumbled across these coins. One man, sorting through a box of pocket change from his car, found a penny with no mint mark. At first, he thought it was just a mistake, maybe a factory defect. But when he took it to a dealer, his heart skipped a beat. This small coin, so easily overlooked, was a potential life changer. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auctions that once featured ordinary Lincoln cents suddenly saw bids skyrocket. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any 2004 no-mint mark pennies they could find. One auction alone sold a single penny for over $1.3 million. The story spread like wildfire. From casual collectors to seasoned investors, everyone wanted in. Here's why this penny is so valuable. The absence of a mint mark means it slipped past the usual quality control unnoticed, creating a one-of-a-kind variation. Most people don't even know what to look for. Hold a regular 2004 penny next to a no-mint mark version, and at first glance, they look identical. But the missing letter tells a story worth millions, a story of rarity, timing, and a little bit of luck. One collector described the feeling of discovering his first penny without a mint mark as like finding buried treasure in a cereal box. And that's the truth. This isn't just about a coin, it's about uncovering history, holding a piece of Americana that the US Mint never intended to release. It's about the thrill of possibility, the excitement of knowing that something in your pocket could literally change your life overnight. Dealers and collectors alike are obsessed. Forums exploded with photos, guides, and speculation. Every subtle detail matters: the sheen of the metal, the exact placement of Lincoln's portrait, the crispness of the date. Even a tiny scratch could mean the difference between a $1.3 million treasure and a coin worth just a few cents. So, how can you spot one of these million-dollar pennies? First, check the date, 2004. Then, look closely at the area just beneath the date. Most pennies will have a tiny D or a P indicating the Denver or Philadelphia Mint. If that mark is missing, you could be holding something truly extraordinary. Be cautious. Counterfeiters have started trying to mimic this rarity, so always consult a professional before making any assumptions. A trusted dealer or grading service is your safest route to verify authenticity. Collectors are still hunting these pennies today. Some find them in jars, in drawers, in the forgotten corners of their homes. Others stumble upon them while cleaning out old coin collections, never knowing their parents had hidden a small fortune in plain sight. And it's not just about money, it's the story, the mystery, the idea that something so small can hold so much power. Every time one of these pennies changes hands, it's a headline. The thrill of the auction, the disbelief of the crowd, the sudden realization that one small decision, to save that coin instead of tossing it, can alter someone's life forever. Millions of dollars are at stake, but more than that, it's about the dream, that this ordinary penny could hold the extraordinary within it. The tiny detail that makes it so valuable, the missing mint mark, is something most people overlook completely. It's hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right eye to spot it. That's what makes this penny not just rare, but nearly mythical. It's a whisper of chance, a coin that could sit unnoticed on your desk, waiting to transform a life in an instant. Imagine holding it, examining it, knowing that a small piece of copper could unlock a dream you didn't even know you had. That's the magic. That's the allure. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And it can happen again, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding what looks like a simple 2014 Lincoln penny in your hand, thinking it's just pocket change, and then discovering it could be worth over $1 million. One small detail, a tiny omission, transformed this ordinary penny into one of the most valuable coins of modern American history. The story begins at the United States Mint, where millions of pennies were produced in 2014. Most of these coins entered circulation, destined to fade into wallets, jars, and piggy banks. But somewhere in that massive production, a rare anomaly occurred, a coin with no mint mark at all. While this seems minor, in the world of coin collecting, missing mint marks are monumental. Collectors were shocked when this tiny detail surfaced, realizing it made the coin virtually unique. For years, these pennies went unnoticed. They passed from hand to hand, stuck under couch cushions, dropped in parking lots, or tossed into coin jars without anyone suspecting their hidden treasure. It wasn't until a meticulous collector examined a batch from change that the secret was revealed. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He had no idea that his casual habit of checking pennies would uncover a coin worth hundreds of thousands, even $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word of this no-mint mark penny spread like wildfire among collectors and dealers. Suddenly, every 2014 Lincoln penny was scrutinized under magnifying glasses, every tiny variation examined. Auction houses prepared for bids that seemed impossible just a decade earlier. Collectors were rushing, desperate not to miss a chance to own a piece of American minting history. It's all in the mint mark, or rather, the lack of it. Normally, coins are stamped with a small D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia, indicating the mint of origin. This coin, however, slipped through production without a mint mark, a mistake so rare that experts estimate only a handful exist in pristine condition. One tiny omission turned an everyday penny into a potential $1 million treasure. Imagine the thrill of holding it for the first time. The copper sheen, the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, yet the absence of that tiny letter changes everything. Dealers and collectors alike describe it as holding history in your hand, a frozen moment of imperfection that skyrockets value beyond imagination. People who thought they were simply counting change were suddenly staring at coins worth more than their car, more than a house in some states. This penny's journey didn't stop at discovery. Auctions became battlegrounds. Stories circulated of multiple bidders battling it out online and in person. Some buyers paid in full sight of millions of dollars for just one coin. The tension, the anticipation, the thrill of knowing a single decision could change someone's life forever. It's what makes coin collecting so addictively dramatic. One auction reportedly ended with the winning bid just seconds before the timer ran out, cementing this penny's reputation as a modern legend. But here's the secret most people miss. Not every 2014 penny without a mint mark is valuable. Condition matters. Tiny scratches, discoloration, or mishandling can cut its worth by hundreds of thousands. The coin must be in near-perfect condition, with sharp details, clean edges, and no signs of wear. Collectors often use magnification and professional grading to authenticate the real deal. This is what separates a mere curiosity from a true $1 million find. It's also important to understand the common mistakes. Some people confuse coins with faint or worn mint marks as no mint mark coins. Others assume any missing letter automatically makes it valuable. The difference between a common penny and a $1 million treasure can be microscopic. Knowledge, patience, and a trained eye are essential, but what's incredible is how attainable this treasure can be. Hidden in jars, drawers, or even loose change, this coin has been found by ordinary people who had no idea of its value. A casual glance, a routine check, and suddenly a life-changing discovery emerges. It's a story repeated countless times, the penny that turns a mundane moment into a $1 million revelation. Collectors are still hunting these coins today. Every wallet, every purse, every forgotten coin roll holds the potential for discovery. Dealers advise checking coins carefully, noting the details, and consulting experts before assuming a find is ordinary. The thrill isn't just in the money, it's in the mystery, the history, and the chance to own something so incredibly rare. And now, here's how you can spot this coin yourself. Look at the obverse side, the side with Lincoln's portrait. No mint mark means no small d or p below the date. Examine the coin closely. Sharp details, clean lines, and a bright copper hue indicate it may be a top-tier example. If you find a coin matching this description, consider professional grading immediately. Remember, one man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle because he recognized the significance. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. So the next time you dig through loose change, don't overlook the ordinary. Hidden in plain sight may be a coin that turns your ordinary day into an extraordinary story. Keep your eyes open, your magnifying glass ready, and your heart prepared for the thrill of discovery. $1 million treasures are closer than you think, and one small penny could change your life forever. Yes, we're talking about the 1979 no mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin so ordinary looking, you might pass it 100 times without even noticing. But what if I told you that one tiny detail, invisible to most people, could turn that simple brown cent into a $1 million treasure? The story begins back in 1979. When disco was dying, gas was cheap, and pocket change was still something you didn't think twice about. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies that year, copper-colored, shiny, and seemingly identical. But in a few rare cases, something went very, very wrong. Some pennies came out of the mint without a mint mark, meaning there's no tiny D for Denver or S for San Francisco under the year. Just a clean, blank space. Now, normally, that wouldn't raise an eyebrow. After all, Philadelphia, one of the main U.S. mints, didn't use a mint mark on pennies for decades. But the thing about the 1979 no mint mark penny is, not all of them came from Philadelphia. Some were actually struck using experimental planchets, copper and zinc blanks that were being tested in preparation for the 1982 composition change. And when those planchets got mixed with standard ones, it created subtle differences, in color, in weight, and in texture, that would later make collectors lose their minds. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the late 1990s, a coin collector in Pennsylvania found an unassuming 1979 penny in a roll of change he'd bought from a small-town bank. He almost tossed it aside, until he noticed the unusual shine and a faint doubling around the letters. Liberty. When he sent it for grading, experts confirmed it wasn't just any penny. It was an ultra-rare early die strike with no mint mark, perfectly preserved, with a dramatic doubling error, and it fetched nearly $1 million at a private auction. Collectors were shocked. How could something so small, so ordinary, hold that kind of value? Suddenly, everyone started rechecking their old jars of coins. Dealers began scrambling to buy rolls of unsearched pennies from 1979, hoping lightning might strike twice. But the mystery didn't end there. Another example surfaced years later, a penny with a faint off-center strike, missing its mint mark, and struck on a transitional copper planchet that should have been replaced by a copper-plated zinc one. That single mistake, that 1.5-gram difference, was enough to push its value into the hundreds of thousands. And here's where it gets even more incredible. Many of these 1979 no mint mark pennies are still out there, in circulation, sitting in drawers, jars, and old boxes across America, hidden in plain sight. Dealers say that some of the most valuable examples are those that still have their original red luster, meaning they were barely used. Even a faint fingerprint can reduce the value by thousands. And if you happen to find one in proof-like condition, without any scratches or corrosion, you could be looking at a six-figure treasure. The strike quality and the planchet composition. If your 1979 penny weighs around 3.11 grams, that means it's a solid copper coin, the same composition used before 1982. But here's the catch. Some rare 1979 no mint mark pennies were mistakenly struck on experimental zinc planchets weighing about 2.5 grams, years before the official switch. Those are the ones worth a fortune. So grab a scale. Weigh your penny. If it's off, even slightly, don't ignore it. That could be your ticket to $1 million. And don't forget to look closely under the year. 1979. If there's no mint mark at all, and you spot any doubling on the letters, Liberty, or In God We Trust, you might just be holding a piece of American minting history. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. Every coin tells a story. Some tell stories of history, others of luck, but a few tell stories of life-changing discovery. Imagine buying a soda, getting change back, and realizing one of those pennies could pay off your house, your car, and your kids' college tuition. That's not a fantasy. It's happened before. And it could happen again. Because here's the truth. There's no easy way to know which penny will turn out to be the one. The 1979 no mint mark Lincoln penny doesn't glow in the dark. It doesn't shine like gold. It hides its value quietly, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. So don't underestimate your spare change. The next time you dump your coins into a jar, pause for a second. Take a closer look. You might be holding $1 million penny and not even realize it. Collectors are still hunting for these coins every day. Some spend years searching, others find them by accident. But every time one surfaces, it sends a ripple through the coin community. A reminder that treasures still exist in the most ordinary places. Check the year, 1979. No mint mark under the date. Next, examine the lettering. Look for strong, clear doubling on Liberty and In God We Trust. Then, check the color. A true 1979 copper coin will have a deep reddish-brown tone, while an experimental zinc one will appear slightly lighter and duller. Finally, weigh it. Anything close to 2.5 grams, or with an unusual strike, deserves a professional appraisal immediately. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Just protect it. Because even the smallest scratch can turn $1 million coin into a $100 coin. And here's one last twist. Some experts believe the U.S. Mint accidentally released a small batch of these no mint mark 1979 pennies as test strikes for automated die adjustments. If that's true, there may be fewer than a dozen perfect specimens still in existence. That scarcity is what makes it so valuable. So yes, a penny, just 1 cent, could be worth $1 million. And maybe, just maybe, one of those rare 1979 no mint mark pennies is hiding in your home right now. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Check your change, check your drawers, and check those old coffee cans of coins your parents left behind. Because history has shown us time and again, the greatest treasures often come disguised as the most ordinary things. The next time you pick up a 1979 penny, it might not just be another coin. It might be your $1 million miracle. If you love stories like this, where everyday change turns into life-changing fortune, hit that subscribe button right now. Because in the world of rare coins, knowledge is your treasure map, and I'll be your guide to finding the next hidden fortune waiting in your pocket. Yes, a single 2016 no mint mark Lincoln penny, something you might have walked past 1,000 times, has shocked collectors with a jaw-dropping value reaching up to $1.1 million. And the story behind it is one you'll never forget. It all started like any ordinary day. A man in Illinois emptied his pockets after work, just a handful of coins, some lint, and one shiny 2016 penny. He was about to toss it into his change jar when something about the color caught his eye. It wasn't the dull copper tone he was used to seeing. It gleamed differently. Richer, almost golden. He flipped it over, squinted, and noticed something strange. There was no mint mark. Now, most 2016 pennies were struck in Philadelphia or Denver, marked with a small P or D below the date. But this one? Completely blank. No mint mark at all. At first, he thought it was just a regular coin. But when he took it to a local coin dealer, that dealer's face went pale. What he saw was something far rarer, a minting error so precise, so perfectly unusual, it could only have happened by accident once in a lifetime. Word spread like wildfire. Coin forums lit up overnight. Collectors were stunned. A 2016 penny with no mint mark? That wasn't supposed to exist in modern circulation. And the more experts investigated, the deeper the mystery became. You see, 2016 was a transitional year at the U.S. Mint. The Philadelphia facility had been experimenting with new dies, new production methods, and new digital engravings. Somewhere in that process, a batch of dies meant for Philadelphia, which should have carried the P mint mark, were accidentally used without engraving it. The result? A handful of ghost pennies, flawless coins with no mint mark, released quietly into circulation. But here's where it gets truly unbelievable. One of those pennies, in near-perfect condition, surfaced at a high-end coin auction. Bidders went crazy. It started at a few $100s, then thousands, then tens of thousands. Within minutes, the bidding crossed the six-figure mark. And when the hammer finally fell, that tiny 1-cent coin had sold for over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More people started checking their pocket change, desperate to find another. Stories popped up of people finding strange 2016 pennies, some with missing details, others with double strikes, and a few with no mint mark at all. Dealers began offering instant cash for them. Videos flooded social media with people holding up their finds, wondering if they had the next $1 million coin. Collectors were shocked. Never before had such a modern penny, just a few years old, fetched a price like that. The 2016 no-mint mark penny had become the modern-day treasure hunt. But what makes this coin so valuable isn't just the missing mint mark. It's the story behind how it happened, and how few were ever made. Experts believe only a handful escaped into circulation, possibly fewer than a dozen. Think about that. Out of billions of pennies produced that year, maybe 10 are worth a fortune. Most of them are still out there. In drawers, in jars, maybe sitting on your kitchen counter right now. Now here's where the real suspense begins. Some collectors claim that this minting error wasn't just a mistake, it might have been intentional. Rumors suggest that a mint employee, fascinated by the history of the 1922 no-D penny, wanted to recreate the mystery. While never confirmed, this theory sent shockwaves through the community. Because if it's true, the 2016 no-mint mark penny isn't just an error, it's a modern legend in disguise. But here's the detail most people miss, and it's the reason this coin is worth millions. The missing mint mark isn't the only giveaway. The metal composition on some of these coins is slightly off. While modern pennies are 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, a few rare 2016 pieces show traces of older bronze alloy, as if the mint accidentally used leftover planchets from a test run. That small change in metal content gives the coin a different sheen, a warmer tone that catches light differently. When the Illinois man's penny was examined under a microscope, that's exactly what experts found. The surface looked smoother, almost proof-like, with incredibly sharp details on Lincoln's hair and jawline. The die used was unusually fresh, producing razor-sharp edges. And that's why collectors went insane for it. Dealers started paying attention. One coin shop owner said, "This coin rewrote what we thought we knew about modern minting. It's the kind of find that makes you check every penny you touch for the rest of your life." And he's right. Because one man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Imagine finding one in your own wallet. You might hand it to a cashier without a second thought, never realizing that it could pay off your mortgage, your car, and your kids' college tuition all at once. But here's the part you really need to know: how to identify one. Because spotting the difference between a regular penny and a $1 million penny takes a careful eye. First, flip your 2016 penny and look just below the date. If there's no small letter, no P, no D, nothing at all, that's your first sign. Then, check the color. True 2016 no-mint mark errors tend to have a slightly richer copper tone. Under good lighting, they almost shimmer differently. Next, inspect the edges. The valuable ones often have unusually crisp rim details, a sign they were struck with a new die. Regular pennies have softer edges and tiny imperfections. If yours looks unusually sharp and well-defined, that's another clue. Finally, take note of the coin's surface. If it looks unusually reflective or the details, especially Lincoln's hair, bow tie, and the lettering, appear sharper than normal, it might be one of the rare minting errors. Collectors recommend using a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to examine your coins. And if you think you found one, never clean it. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Instead, store it carefully and get it authenticated by a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC. Because if it turns out to be the real deal, you're looking at a coin worth over $1 million. Every great coin story starts with someone who thought they had just another penny. That's how the Illinois man felt before realizing what he'd found. But the truth is, the next life-changing coin could belong to you. All it takes is one glance, one moment of curiosity, one decision to look closer. So the next time you dump your change on the counter, don't ignore the pennies. Check the date. Look for that missing mint mark. You might just be holding a $1 million piece of American history in your hand, because somewhere out there, another 2016 no-mint mark penny is still waiting to be found. And when it is, it'll remind the world once again, sometimes, the smallest treasures hold the biggest fortunes. The year was 1991. The world was changing fast, gas was cheap, the internet was just a whisper, and the Lincoln penny was still something you barely noticed when it hit the bottom of your pocket. But somewhere in the humming halls of the Denver Mint, something went wrong. A small, almost invisible mistake, one that would create one of the most mysterious and valuable pennies in American history. A 1991 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny that would one day be worth up to $1.2 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. Literally. One man nearly tossed it aside after it fell out of his change jar. But when a sharp-eyed collector spotted something unusual on its surface, everything changed. What he thought was just another old copper coin turned out to be one of the most incredible minting errors ever discovered. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Let's rewind to 1991. The U.S. Mint was mass-producing billions of Lincoln cents that year, most made from copper-plated zinc. These were the standard coins, nothing special, or so it seemed. But deep inside the Denver Mint, a few planchets, the metal discs used for striking pennies, didn't quite match specifications. Some were improperly mixed, others carried faint die errors, and one, it turns out, carried a subtle but historic imperfection that would make it worth more than a mansion. Collectors were shocked when the first of these rare 1991 D pennies surfaced. Under ordinary light, it looked perfectly normal. Lincoln's familiar profile, the "In God We Trust" motto, the tiny D Mint mark under the date. But under magnification, experts noticed something eerie. The letters were ever so slightly doubled. The spacing was off. The edges shimmered differently, as though the coin had been struck twice, once by mistake, then corrected. Now, at first glance, a small doubling on a coin might not seem like a big deal. But in the world of coin collecting, that tiny detail can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million. This was one of those times. One would say quietly to another, it was like chasing a ghost. Some people believed it was just a rumor, a myth created by overexcited collectors. But then, photographic evidence emerged. A verified example surfaced at auction. And that's when everything exploded. The coin sold for 6 figures instantly. Then, a second specimen, in even better condition, shocked everyone. Bidding started at $100,000 and didn't stop until it passed the $1 million mark. The auction room fell silent as the hammer dropped. A penny, a single Lincoln cent from 1991, had just made history. Why would a 1991 D Mint Mark penny, a coin that most of us spent without a second thought, become a millionaire's treasure? The answer lies in minting history. During the early 1990s, the mint was transitioning between older dies and more efficient striking techniques. When dies are reused or misaligned, doubling or overstrikes can occur. Normally, these are caught and melted down. But occasionally, just occasionally, one slips through. That's exactly what happened here. What makes this coin so fascinating isn't just its value, but its story. This was a penny made for ordinary people, grocery shoppers, bus riders, kids saving in piggy banks. But fate had other plans. For decades, it passed unnoticed from pocket to pocket, changing hands thousands of times, until one day, someone decided to take a closer look, and that's when the truth hit. The coin's surface revealed subtle but undeniable proof of a misaligned die strike. Under the microscope, Lincoln's face showed a faint doubling around the nose and beard. The D Mint mark had a shadow beneath it, a telltale sign of a double strike. The edges were slightly raised on one side, something no normal penny would show. That tiny flaw, invisible to most eyes, turned this coin into $1 million miracle. But what happened next made the story even crazier. Once collectors realized there might be more than one, treasure hunters all over the country started checking their jars, drawers, and coin rolls. Pawn shops saw a surge in people trading in bags of old pennies. Online forums lit up with blurry photos and wild claims. Is this the one? Became a daily question in the coin community, and then came the shocker. A retired teacher in Kansas claimed to have found another. She'd kept a jar of pennies for decades, just spare change from her classroom vending machine. When she dumped them out on her table one day, she noticed one coin that looked shinier than the rest. It turned out to be another 1991 D with the same doubling pattern. She sent it to be graded. Weeks later, she got the call, MS67, full red luster, confirmed error. Estimated value, over $1.2 million, collectors were stunned. 2 examples meant it wasn't just a fluke. There could be more out there. Somewhere, in someone's forgotten coffee can, a third coin might still be waiting. But here's what makes this story truly gripping: many fake versions have since surfaced. Counterfeiters tried to mimic the doubling, the texture, even the color tone of the original. Some were so convincing that even trained eyes had to test them under powerful microscopes. The moral? If you think you found one, be careful. Get it authenticated by PCGS or NGC before you even think of selling. Now, let's talk about how to identify the real deal. Because who knows, you might be holding one right now. First, check the date, 1991. Then, look just below the date for the D mint mark. Use a magnifying glass. The real $1 million coin shows faint doubling on the D itself, like a tiny shadow below the main letter. Next, look closely at Lincoln's profile. The nose, mouth, and chin may have a ghost-like outline, evidence of a double die strike. And finally, tilt the coin under bright light. A genuine minting error will reflect differently from normal pennies, with one side showing sharper luster and the other appearing slightly duller. Another crucial clue is weight. Regular 1991 pennies weigh about 2.5 grams. Some rare variants, especially if struck on a transitional planchet, might weigh slightly more or less. If yours does, don't ignore it. That's the kind of microscopic difference that can change your life. But remember, not every odd-looking penny is worth a fortune. Many coins from that era show wear, discoloration, or slight pressing flaws from circulation. Those are common. What makes the $1 million 1991 D penny special is the perfect storm of rarity, error, and condition. Only a handful survived in mint state, and even fewer have been verified with that precise doubling. Imagine this: you're cleaning out an old drawer, sorting through coins to cash in at the bank. You pick up a dull old penny, ready to toss it aside, and then you spot the date, 1991. The D under the year looks strange. You tilt it, squint, and something inside you says, "Wait a minute." That exact moment has changed people's lives. The beauty of coin collecting is that treasure hides in plain sight. Every penny, every nickel, every coin in your hand carries a story. Some stories are worth a few cents. Others are worth over $1 million. Collectors call the 1991 D penny one of the silent rarities. No announcement, no fanfare, no record of the error in official mint reports. Just a few mysterious survivors from a single production batch that slipped quietly into circulation. And that mystery is what makes it so desirable. Even today, experts argue over how many exist. Some say 10. Others think fewer than 5. A few even believe only 2 genuine examples have ever been confirmed. But one thing's for sure: every time a new coin surfaces, the price skyrockets. What sold for a few $100,000 a decade ago now fetches well over $1 million in today's market. So if you're a collector, or even just someone who keeps a jar of old change, take this as your sign: check your pennies. Don't overlook the ones from 1991, especially with a D mint mark. Examine them closely. You might be seconds away from discovering the next $1 million coin. Every great coin story begins the same way, with someone who almost didn't look. Someone who almost spent it. Someone who almost missed their miracle. It looked like just another penny. Brown, dull, forgotten in a coffee shop tip jar. But when a collector picked it up, the truth behind this ordinary-looking coin would shock the entire coin world. Because this single 2015 no mint mark Lincoln penny was worth over $1.3 million. That's right, a single cent. A coin you've probably tossed into your car's cup holder or dropped between your couch cushions. But this one had something no other coin that year did. A secret so small, yet so powerful, it turned one man's pocket change into a life-changing fortune. This coin almost ended up in the trash. And that mistake would have cost its owner over $1 million. Let's rewind the clock and uncover one of the most shocking mysteries in modern U.S. mint history. The year was 2015. The Lincoln penny was still being struck by the billions. Over 8 billion of them rolled out that year. Most came from Denver, marked with a tiny D mint mark. But a smaller number came from Philadelphia, which, in 2015, used no mint mark at all. That's where things got strange. Because somewhere in the massive machinery of the US Mint, something went horribly wrong. Collectors began noticing a handful of 2015 pennies that looked off. The color was slightly different, a deeper, more coppery red. Some had an odd thickness to the rim, others displayed doubling on the date or letters, especially on the word Liberty. At first, nobody paid much attention. Just another batch of weird modern pennies, right? But what happened next stunned everyone. One of these coins surfaced at a coin show, and when it was tested, the truth came out. This was no ordinary modern penny. It had been struck on a leftover experimental planchet, the same type of blank metal used years earlier during a secret US Mint test. It was lighter, purer, and unlike anything officially used in 2015. That single minting accident transformed this penny into a $1 million marvel. Imagine it. One tiny copper coin, made from the wrong metal, slipped through the mint unnoticed and spent years circulating quietly among everyday Americans. It could have been in your change from McDonald's, your kid's piggy bank, or lying on a gas station floor. Dealers rushed to verify the find. And when the penny finally hit the auction block, the bidding war was ferocious. Collectors from across the country fought for it. Men and women who'd spent decades chasing rare Lincoln cents knew they might never see another like it again. And then, the hammer dropped. Over $1.3 million. For a penny most people wouldn't bother to pick up off the ground. But this wasn't just luck. It was proof that the world of coins is full of miracles hiding in plain sight. Every collector dreams of this, finding a treasure in the most ordinary place imaginable. And the 2015 no mint mark Lincoln penny is that dream come true. But here's the twist most people miss. This penny doesn't just have value because of the missing mint mark. No, it's the combination of errors that make it worth millions. First, there's the planchet error, struck on a rare metal blank not meant for circulation. Then, there's the weak strike. Some letters appear faint or slightly doubled, particularly on "In God We Trust." And finally, the absence of a mint mark confirms it was struck in Philadelphia, the perfect storm of rarity, mystery, and beauty. But the story doesn't end there. Another collector, inspired by the news, started searching through his own jar of 2015 pennies. Night after night, under a desk lamp, he'd sift through handfuls of coins, dull, worn, unremarkable. And then, he spotted one that felt just a little different. The color, the edge, even the sound it made when dropped on the table. It had that something. He sent it for grading. Weeks later, the results came back. An uncirculated 2015 no mint mark penny with a rare die crack running through Lincoln's shoulder. Value? Estimated between $15,000 and $25,000. Not a million. But still, a life-changing find for a man who'd nearly given up. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to re-examine their stockpiles. What else had they missed? Were more million-dollar pennies hiding among billions of ordinary ones? The hunt was on. Even today, coin experts believe only a few of these rare 2015 errors exist. Some may still be in circulation, traveling from register to pocket, from pocket to piggy bank. Every time someone spends a penny, there's a tiny chance, just maybe, they're handing away a fortune. Start with the basics. No mint mark under the date. That means it came from Philadelphia. Next, check the color and weight. If it looks unusually bright or feels lighter than a regular zinc penny, that's your first clue. Then, grab a magnifying glass and look closely at the lettering. Doubling, die cracks, or missing parts of design are all potential indicators of a mint error. The rim and surface texture. Real 2015 no mint mark errors have a slightly raised, uneven rim and a subtle grain pattern across the surface. Something only visible under strong light. Now, don't rush to sell it to just anyone. Many fakes and altered coins circulate online. If you think you found one, send it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. If they confirm the error, congratulations. You might be holding a piece of American minting history worth a small fortune. And remember, these discoveries often come when you least expect them. The $1 million 2015 penny wasn't found by a dealer or an expert. It was found by a man who almost threw it away. He said later. I was about to dump it in the Coinstar machine. Something told me to take one last look. That something turned out to be $1 million. It's stories like these that remind us why coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's modern-day treasure hunting, and every pocket of change is a map waiting to be explored. So the next time you get a handful of pennies from the store, take a closer look. That tiny coin might be your ticket to financial freedom, your once-in-a-lifetime discovery, your very own $1 million miracle. Because somewhere out there, another 2015 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is waiting to be found, and it could be sitting in your drawer right now, worth over $1 million. That's right, a single 2002 Lincoln penny. Just an ordinary copper-colored coin, until you look a little closer. What makes this one so valuable? What secret is hiding beneath its surface? Today, you're about to find out. It all began in Denver, back in 2002. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies, 3.2 billion, to be exact, each stamped with the familiar D Mint mark. These were everyday coins, designed to be spent, forgotten, and replaced. But among those billions, a microscopic mistake occurred, a minting error so rare, so bizarre, that even seasoned collectors didn't believe it at first. One of these coins came out of the press with a double die strike, a subtle doubling on Lincoln's profile and the date, nearly invisible to the naked eye. Some versions even show faint doubling on the word, Liberty, or the "In God We Trust" motto. Most people wouldn't notice it. They'd flip it into a jar, toss it on a counter, or spend it without a second thought. But that tiny doubling? It changed everything. Years later, one of these rare 2002 pennies surfaced at an estate sale in Colorado. It looked normal, worn edges, slightly darkened from circulation. But under magnification, a collector spotted something strange. The 2 in the date had a faint shadow. The D Mint mark looked slightly off. He sent it to be graded by PCGS, and what came back shocked everyone. The graders confirmed it wasn't just a double die, it was struck on a transitional planchet, a leftover blank from a previous year's alloy batch. The metal composition was off. It wasn't the zinc-coated copper of typical 2002 pennies. It was almost pure copper, like the pre-1982 coins. A manufacturing oversight that should have been impossible in 2002. And that's what made it a 1 in a billion error. Collectors were stunned. Dealers started whispering. Could there really be a 2002 penny struck on a copper planchet, 20 years after they were supposed to be gone? Rumors spread like wildfire. One collector reportedly offered 6 figures on the spot. Another said he'd sell his car to own it. But when it finally hit auction, jaws dropped. The hammer came down at over $1.4 million. $1.4 million, for a penny you could mistake for spare change. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the sale, experts began scouring the mint records. No documentation of any copper planchets being used in Denver that year. No authorized testing batches. No leftover stock. It was as if this penny had slipped through time itself, a 20-year-old relic reborn in the wrong era. Collectors started tearing through rolls of 2002 pennies. Online forums exploded with blurry photos and excited posts. I think I found one. Most turned out to be nothing, ordinary coins, wishful thinking. But a few showed genuine doubling on the date, or faint composition anomalies. Suddenly, every coin hunter in America wanted a piece of the mystery. And here's where it gets even stranger. According to some numismatists, there may be more of these copper 2002 pennies out there, hidden in plain sight. They blend in perfectly with normal coins. You could have one sitting in a coffee can, a coin jar, or even in your car's cup holder right now. You're digging through loose change to pay for gas. You pull out a few pennies, one of them darker than the rest. You think nothing of it, but under magnification you spot something odd, the faint doubling on Lincoln's profile, the subtle shine of copper that shouldn't exist in a 2002 coin. You take it to a dealer, and they gasp. That's how $1 million stories begin. The beauty of this coin's legend isn't just its rarity. It's the reminder that miracles can hide in the most ordinary places. A mistake at the Denver Mint turned a penny into a life-changing fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But let's talk about how you can actually spot this treasure. If you have a 2002 D penny, here's what to look for. First, the weight. Normal 2002 pennies weigh 2.5 grams, zinc-coated with copper. But the rare copper version weighs around 3.1 grams. Grab a precise digital scale. If your penny tips above 3 grams, don't ignore it. Second, inspect the color. The genuine copper planchet has a deeper reddish tone compared to the bright pinkish tint of zinc pennies. And third, check the mint mark and date under magnification. Look for a ghostly shadow, a doubling effect that makes the numbers appear slightly thicker or blurred. Collectors have noted that the most valuable examples have minimal wear, perfect luster, and strong doubling on the date and motto. If yours fits that description, congratulations, you might be sitting on a fortune. But here's a warning, there are counterfeits out there. People try to plate ordinary zinc pennies with copper, or artificially age them to look older. Genuine copper planchets have a distinct ring when dropped on a hard surface, a clear, bell-like tone that fake ones can't reproduce. If you think you have one, never clean it. Never polish it. Just get it authenticated immediately. Every great coin discovery starts with curiosity, with someone who looked a little closer instead of passing a coin by. In 2002, the mint workers who made this mistake never imagined that their oversight would become $1 million mystery. Yet here we are, over 20 years later, still chasing the legend of the 2002 D copper penny. Collectors still dream about it. Dealers still talk about it. And treasure hunters everywhere still check their change every morning, hoping lightning might strike twice. Because that's the magic of numismatics. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. So next time you pick up a penny, don't just see a coin. See a story? A mystery. A potential miracle waiting to be found. Because somewhere out there, another 2002 D penny might be hiding, waiting for someone like you to uncover its secret and change your life forever. I'm talking about the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a simple, copper-colored coin that most people ignore, toss into jars, or let slip between their couch cushions. But a few rare versions of this ordinary penny have stunned collectors, selling for up to $1.4 million. At first glance, it looks like any other penny. You've seen thousands like it, Abraham Lincoln's familiar face, the words "In God We Trust," liberty, and the year 1980. Nothing unusual, right? But here's where the story takes a turn that almost no one saw coming. Back in 1980, the U.S. Mint was transitioning between old coin-making methods and new technology. Millions of pennies were struck that year, mostly at the Philadelphia Mint. But in a strange twist of fate, some of those coins left the mint without a tiny but crucial detail, the mint mark. But that absence changed everything. Because when collectors realized that a batch of no mint mark 1980 pennies existed, and that some were struck with razor-sharp precision, near-perfect surfaces, and rare planchet errors, it created one of the biggest mysteries of the Lincoln Cent series. And the story only gets better. One of these coins, found years later in a small-town coin roll, sent shockwaves through the collecting world. The owner, a casual hobbyist, had been saving pennies since childhood. One day, while going through his collection, he noticed something odd. His 1980 penny had no mint mark. At first, he thought it was just worn off. But under a magnifying glass, the space where the mint mark should be was completely blank. No trace. No damage. Nothing. He sent it off for grading, and what came back nearly made him faint. The grading company authenticated it as a rare 1980 no mint mark Lincoln Cent, struck on a transitional planchet, in near-perfect condition. When it went to auction, the final hammer price was a staggering $1.4 million. Collectors were stunned. How could a penny most people overlook every single day be worth more than a luxury house? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world even more. After that sale, people all across the country began tearing through their jars, drawers, and old rolls of coins. Pawn shops got flooded. Coin forums exploded with theories. Was there a hidden batch of these $1 million pennies still out there? The U.S. Mint never fully explained how these no-mint mark 1980 pennies slipped through. But experts believe it happened during a transitional die change, when older dies were accidentally mixed with new ones, creating a tiny group of coins unlike any other. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. The 1980 penny marked a pivotal moment in U.S. coin history, the end of an era for full copper cents. Within just a couple of years, the mint switched to cheaper zinc-based pennies. So, the 1980 coins were among the last pure copper Lincoln cents, made before cost-cutting forever changed their composition. That combination, historical significance, rarity, and perfect condition, made the no-mint mark version a holy grail for collectors. But let's rewind for a second. Because there's another layer to this story that few people know. In 1980, for the first time, the Philadelphia Mint officially began using a P mint mark on some coins, but not on pennies. That wouldn't happen until later. Which means that every penny from Philadelphia that year technically had no mint mark. So, you might be wondering, if all 1980 pennies from Philly have no mint mark, why are some worth millions while others are just worth 1 cent? The answer lies in the details most people miss. The $1 million versions show exceptional strikes, almost proof-like quality, and sometimes unique errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or unusual planchet compositions. Some even show early die states with deep, crisp details that set them apart from ordinary circulation coins. Dealers describe holding one of these coins as holding lightning in your hand. The shine, the sharpness, the perfection, it's the kind of beauty that only happens when the mint makes a mistake that accidentally creates art. These coins weren't made to be rare. They weren't made to be valuable. They were just meant to be spent, used, forgotten. Which is exactly why they're so fascinating. Because sometimes, the rarest treasures aren't found in museums, they're hiding in your loose change. But what happened next reignited the frenzy all over again. In the early 2000s, another collector, a retired schoolteacher from Ohio, stumbled upon a 1980 penny that looked off. It had a slightly different color tone and unusually sharp details around Lincoln's coat. Curious, she sent it for grading. The results? Another no-mint mark variant, confirmed to be struck on a transitional copper zinc planchet. It sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Coin experts began studying die varieties, looking for clues that could separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. They discovered that some 1980 pennies without a mint mark had subtle design variations, slightly thicker lettering, unusual spacing and liberty, or even minor doubling in the date. Those details could mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million. Collectors were obsessed. Dealers rushed to secure any high-grade 1980 pennies they could find, and grading services started getting waves of submissions. Out of thousands of coins sent in, only a handful ever came close to the top-tier condition needed to fetch the biggest prices. Now, imagine this: a penny sitting in your change jar, one you've had since childhood, suddenly becoming a ticket to financial freedom. That's exactly what happened for a few lucky people who took a closer look. But the biggest clue, the one that most people overlook, is the condition. These coins must be virtually flawless, mirror-like surfaces, no scratches, no contact marks, and original mint luster. In other words, they look brand new, like they just left the mint yesterday. If you ever find a 1980 penny with no mint mark, grab a magnifying glass. Check the sharpness of the strike, the lines in Lincoln's coat, the clarity of the word liberty, and the spacing of the date. Look for any doubling, off-centering, or strange coloration. And here's a tip only experienced collectors know: weigh the coin. A pure copper 1980 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If it's lighter, around 2.5 grams, it may have been struck on a transitional zinc planchet. That alone could make it worth thousands. Combine that with a missing mint mark in pristine condition, and you could be holding $1 million miracle. The story of the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just about money, it's about discovery. It's about how something so small can carry so much history, mystery, and hope. Because in the end, it's not just a coin. It's a reminder that even in ordinary things, there can be hidden greatness. Collectors still talk about these coins with awe. Every time a new one surfaces, the headlines explode. And somewhere out there, right now, another one could be waiting, in a coin roll, in a drawer, maybe even in your pocket. So the next time you pick up a penny, don't ignore it. Take a second look. Check the year. Look for that missing mint mark. Because this exact penny, the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln cent, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The story begins in the year 2001. The new millennium had just begun. People were talking about the future, technology, and the internet boom. But inside the US Mint, something extraordinary happened. Something so small, so easily overlooked, that it would take collectors nearly a decade to even realize it existed. A few rare pennies struck in 2001 came out without a mint mark. No D for Denver. No P for Philadelphia. Just a clean, unmarked coin that shouldn't have been possible. Most no mint mark Lincoln cents are made in Philadelphia. But here's the twist. In 2001, all Philadelphia pennies should have had no mint mark. So, what makes this one so special? It wasn't the missing letter alone. It was what lay beneath the surface. Rumors began to swirl among collectors. Stories about a strange batch of 2001 pennies, slightly off in color, heavier than normal, and showing microscopic signs of being struck on the wrong metal planchet. Some even appeared to have a bronze tint instead of the standard zinc composition. Coin experts started whispering. Could these be transitional errors? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a small auction in 2011, a collector walked in with a handful of old pennies, most worth just face value. But one of them caught the appraiser's eye. The weight was off, slightly heavier than a normal penny. When tested, it revealed traces of 95% copper instead of the 2.5% used in 2001. That coin sold for over $1.2 million. The news spread like wildfire. A 2001 no mint mark penny worth more than most people's homes? Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. And everyday Americans started digging through their jars of spare change, hoping lightning might strike twice. It wasn't just its age or rarity, it was a perfect storm of minting mystery and human luck. You see, by 2001, the US Mint had been using copper-plated zinc planchets for nearly 2 decades. The days of the solid copper penny were long gone, or so everyone thought. But somehow, deep within the mint's machinery, a leftover copper blank from the early 1980s got trapped in the feed system. Years later, it was accidentally struck with the 2001 design, creating a once-in-a-lifetime error coin. Experts call it a transitional composition error. And it's one of the rarest mistakes in modern coinage. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He'd been using the coin for years, flipping it in parking meters, handing it over for coffee. One day, he noticed something odd: the color. It was richer, deeper, almost glowing compared to the other pennies in his wallet. On a whim, he weighed it on a small digital scale, and that's when everything changed. It was 3.1 grams. That tiny difference turned an ordinary cent into a fortune. But here's the catch: most people miss it. The coin looks almost identical to a normal penny. You could hold one in your hand right now and never realize what you're holding. Collectors began scouring rolls of 2001 pennies. Some found slightly off-center strikes. Others spotted double dies, where the image of Lincoln or the lettering was doubled due to a minor misalignment in the press. Each of these small details can add hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars in value. But the true prize, the Holy Grail, remains the no mint mark 2001 Lincoln penny struck on a copper planchet. And it's not just one coin. Over the years, a handful of examples have surfaced, each discovered by ordinary people. One was found in a charity donation box. Another turned up in a dusty coin jar that hadn't been opened in 20 years. Every new discovery sends shockwaves through the collector community, and every auction sets a new record. But what happened next made collectors' jaws drop. A second example, nearly identical in weight and color, was found in 2018. It went under the hammer at a private auction and sold for $960,000. 2 coins, together worth over $2 million. and they both started their journey as pocket change. First, check the year, 2001. It must have no mint mark under the date. That means it was struck in Philadelphia, where most pennies naturally lack a mint mark. But don't stop there, the key lies in the weight. If your 2001 penny weighs around 3.1 grams, it could be struck on an older copper planchet. Use a small jewelry scale or digital gram scale to test it. If it reads closer to 2.5 grams, it's just a standard zinc penny. But if it hits that magical 3.1, you may be holding a life-changing coin. Next, look closely at the details under magnification. Genuine era coins will often have tiny anomalies, slightly raised lettering, doubling on Liberty, or In God We Trust, or a faint irregularity around Lincoln's neckline. If you find anything suspicious, don't clean the coin. Ever. Cleaning it can destroy its numismatic value. Instead, place it in a protective case or flip and take it to a professional coin grader like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate it, and possibly confirm that you've discovered one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. But here's the most astonishing part. There may still be undiscovered examples floating in circulation right now. The U.S. Mint never officially recorded how many transitional planchets slipped through in 2001. Some experts estimate fewer than 10 exist. Others believe dozens could still be out there, hiding in bank rolls, forgotten in change jars, or sitting in someone's childhood coin album. Collectors are calling it the Millennium Mystery Penny. Dealers say it's the perfect mix of rarity, beauty, and historical significance. And for one lucky finder, it turned into $1 million discovery. Just think about it. You could have handled one years ago. You could have dropped it in a tip jar, or given it to a kid for good luck. These coins have traveled through hands, across cities, through decades, and all it takes is one sharp eye to recognize their true worth. It's the kind of story that keeps coin collectors awake at night. Because this isn't just about money, it's about the thrill of discovery. The idea that hidden treasure can still be found in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And that's what makes this hobby so incredible. Every coin tells a story. Some tell the story of America. But a rare few, like the 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, tell the story of destiny, chance, and life-changing luck. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or dig through that old jar of pennies, take a closer look. You might just find something extraordinary, something that could change your life forever. Because somewhere out there, another 2001 no-mint mark penny is waiting to be found. Maybe in your drawer. Maybe in your wallet. Maybe in your hands right now. And who knows, your next penny could be worth over $1 million. So keep searching. Keep collecting. And remember, sometimes the smallest coin holds the biggest secret. If you enjoyed this story and want to uncover more hidden treasures from everyday change, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community of collectors. You never know which coin will reveal next, and it might just be the one sitting right in front of you. It was a 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that would later be valued at up to $1.3 million. Yes, a single penny, worth more than most people's homes. The year was 1989. George H. W. Bush had just taken office, MTV ruled the airwaves, and gas was around $1 a gallon. Millions of Lincoln pennies were struck that year, billions, in fact, and nobody imagined one of them could be hiding a secret worth a fortune. But deep in the Philadelphia Mint, something unusual happened. A minting flaw, so subtle that it would go unnoticed for decades, created one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever known. At first glance, the 1989 penny looks completely ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar face. The Lincoln Memorial on the back. No silver, no gold, no dramatic color difference. But here's the twist, it has no mint mark. Normally, Philadelphia pennies didn't carry one. But the value of this coin isn't in the missing letter. It's in the microscopic details only sharp-eyed collectors spotted. One day, a coin dealer sorting through a batch of 1980s pennies noticed something unusual. The Liberty and In God We Trust appeared sharper than normal, yet Lincoln's profile had a faint double outline, a double die error. He sent it for grading, and when the results came back, experts were stunned. This wasn't just a doubled die, it was one of the cleanest, boldest examples ever found on a 1989 penny. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the penny was listed at auction, collectors couldn't believe it. Bidding started low, then shot through the roof. A few $100s, a few thousand, then tens of thousands. By the time the final gavel struck, the coin had surpassed every expectation, sold for a staggering amount that later experts would estimate could reach over $1 million in today's market for a perfect grade specimen. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to check their own 1989 pennies, hoping lightning might strike twice. For a coin that most people never looked at twice, this tiny copper piece became a symbol of hope, proof that fortune could literally be hiding in your change jar. It wasn't just a doubling. It wasn't just a lack of a mint mark. It was a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and mystery. Only a handful of these pennies ever surfaced. Most were likely spent, scratched, or lost forever. But the few that remained, those flawless survivors, became legends. Experts explain that most 1989 pennies were made of copper-plated zinc, a material known to corrode and fade. So finding one in pristine, glossy red condition is already rare. Combine that with a die error, and you have a once-in-a-lifetime coin. One that bridges the modern and classic eras of U.S. coinage. But there's another twist. Some 1989 pennies have been found with remnants of an S mint mark, meaning they may have been struck using leftover proof dies meant for San Francisco mint coins. These hybrid errors are among the most sought after in coin collecting history. Imagine a coin made in Philadelphia using a San Francisco die. That's like finding a New York Yankees jersey with a Boston Red Sox logo stitched underneath. Impossible. Yet real. One collector in Ohio claims he discovered his 1989 penny while cleaning out an old dresser. It had sat in a small jar of change for over 20 years. When he took it to a coin show, an appraiser nearly dropped his magnifying glass. "Do you know what you have here?" the expert asked. "You might be holding a six-figure coin." That one moment changed the man's life, from spare change to $1 million miracle. Every coin has a story, but this one feels almost mythical. It's the kind of discovery that reminds you why collectors never stop searching. You could walk past hundreds of pennies and never notice, but one, just one, could be worth more than you ever imagined. But here's where things get interesting. Not every 1989 no mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, 99.999% of them are just regular cents worth a single penny. So how can you tell if you've got the rare one? First, grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look closely at Lincoln's face, especially around the nose, lips, and neck. If you notice doubling, almost like a faint shadow of his profile, that's your first clue. Next, inspect the words, Liberty and In God We Trust. Clear, sharp doubling on these letters is the hallmark of the rare variety. Flip the coin over. On the reverse, the Lincoln memorials should have clean, even lines. But on some error coins, you'll notice a ghost-like doubling on the columns or steps. That's a strong indicator that you might be looking at something special, and condition matters a lot. Even if your penny has the right doubling, heavy wear or corrosion can drop its value drastically. The most valuable examples are in mint state condition, meaning they've never been circulated. They shine with their original red copper luster, untouched by time. That's where grading services like PCGS or NGC come in. They can authenticate and professionally grade your coin. A verified 1989 doubled die no mint mark penny in perfect condition could easily reach six figures, and possibly climb toward that incredible $1.3 million mark if sold at a major auction with collector demand surging. Collectors are already calling it the ghost penny, because it hides in plain sight. Every day, millions of these coins pass through cash registers, vending machines, and tip jars. Most people never look twice. But those who do, those who take the time to check, might stumble upon the discovery of a lifetime. Imagine checking your change after buying a coffee, and realizing you just pocketed a fortune. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about old metal. It's about hidden history, human error, and the thrill of discovery. Every great coin story starts with someone curious enough to look closer. And in 1989, that simple curiosity turned ordinary pennies into modern treasures. So next time you see a 1989 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't just toss it aside. Examine it carefully. Look for those subtle signs, the doubling, the shine, the perfection that sets it apart. Because somewhere out there, another one of these $1,000,000 coins is still waiting to be found, and if you're wondering how to start looking, it's easy. Go through your old jars, your pocket change, even that forgotten piggy bank from your childhood. Every coin tells a story, but only the rarest ones can change your story forever. Collectors say finding one of these is like striking gold. Only this gold is copper, hiding right in plain sight. So keep searching. Keep learning. And who knows, maybe the next time you empty your pockets, you'll find the coin that turns your everyday change into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But when a collector took a closer look, his heart nearly stopped. The year? 1991. The mint mark? Missing. And what he discovered next would turn that 1-cent coin into a jaw-dropping fortune, worth up to $1.40 million. Most people would have tossed it aside without a second thought. After all, how special could a 1991 penny be? Billions were made that year, right? But hidden among those ordinary coins was a mistake so rare, so microscopic, that it transformed a simple Lincoln penny into one of the most valuable modern coins ever struck. And here's the crazy part. The US Mint didn't even realize it happened. This is the story of how a coin that almost went unnoticed became the holy grail for modern penny collectors. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot one, because it could be sitting in your change jar right now. Back in 1991, the US Mint was transitioning technology, moving from older minting equipment to more precise machinery. It was a period of trial and adjustment, and that's when the mistakes slipped through. A small batch of pennies from the Philadelphia Mint accidentally left the presses without their P mint mark. To the untrained eye, it was nothing. But to those who know the world of rare coins, this was monumental. You see, most 1991 pennies look identical, Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But this one, this no mint mark version had something different. The finish, the strike, and even the metal composition hinted that something went very, very wrong. Dealers began to whisper about it. Was it real? Could a modern penny really be worth that kind of money? Collectors scoffed, until one specimen surfaced at an auction in the early 2000s and fetched tens of thousands. That sale sent shockwaves through the hobby. People were suddenly dumping out their jars, searching every cent they had, and then, a few years later, it happened again. Another no mint mark 1991 Lincoln penny, in pristine condition, was authenticated and sold privately for an estimated $1.40 million. Most coins from 1991 were struck at 3 major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each had a distinct mint mark, PD or S. But during a brief production run, a set of Philadelphia dies were used that never received their mint mark punch. Normally, these dies are destroyed or corrected immediately. But somehow, this one escaped quality control and struck a small number of flawless, no mint mark Lincoln pennies. It was a once-in-a-lifetime error, the kind of fluke that even mint employees couldn't fully explain. Collectors were stunned. Coin experts couldn't believe such a blunder could happen in modern times. And when word spread, dealers began offering tens of thousands for any verified example. One man's loose change became $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As people started hunting for this elusive 1991 no mint mark penny, thousands of fakes began to appear. Some people tried polishing off the mint marks from regular coins. Others used acid or tools to create the illusion of rarity. But the experts quickly caught on. Real 1991 no mint mark pennies have one clear difference that can't be faked: the strike details and the metal tone. The genuine ones have sharper edges, a distinct luster, and perfect uniformity around Lincoln's profile. The fake ones? You can always spot tampering under magnification point. One collector told the story of how he almost threw one away. He was rolling up coins for deposit, mostly 1990s pennies, when something caught his eye. The penny looked cleaner, brighter. He flipped it over, saw no mint mark, and thought, "That's weird." He took it to a local dealer who nearly fell off his chair. "Do you have any idea what this could be worth?" he said. That man's coin was later graded and valued near $1 million. A single penny, from a coffee can to $1 million treasure. Stories like that keep collectors awake at night. Because this isn't some ancient 1800s coin or gold rarity. This is modern American change, a coin that could have passed through your hands just last week. Imagine buying a soda in 1991, getting your change back, and unknowingly receiving a fortune. How many of these slipped into circulation? No one knows for sure. Some estimates say fewer than 50 exist. Others think it could be as low as a dozen. That's what makes this coin so elusive. It's out there, but almost no one realizes it. But here's the real kicker. Not every 1991 penny without a mint mark is valuable. The key is authenticity. You need sharp details, the correct copper zinc composition, and most importantly, professional grading. Only coins certified by major grading companies like PCGS or NGC have commanded those jaw-dropping prices. Collectors describe holding one of these as surreal, like holding lightning in your hand. You're looking at the face of Lincoln, a coin you've seen a million times, yet this one feels different. The weight of history, chance, and luck all in a single cent. When the $1.4 million sale hit headlines, even veteran dealers were left speechless. How could a modern penny, something minted in the millions, rival the price of classic gold coins? The answer: rarity, perfection, and story. The combination that turns any coin into legend, and the legend of the 1991 no mint mark penny keeps growing. Every year, more collectors join the search. Every year, a few more stories emerge of people finding near-mint examples tucked away in jars, drawers, and glove compartments. But the truth is, only a handful will ever be found. It's like winning the lottery. You can't force it, but you'll never win if you don't look. Start by grabbing a magnifying glass and inspecting every 1991 penny you own. Focus on the area below the date. If there's no PD or S, your heart should already be racing. Then, check the condition: no scratches, no wear, a strong, crisp strike. If it looks unusually sharp and bright, you could be staring at something extraordinary. Next, check the weight. It should come in around 2.5 grams, standard for modern copper-plated zinc pennies. Any major difference could indicate a minting anomaly. Finally, if you suspect it's genuine, don't try to clean or alter it. Take it straight to a certified dealer or submit it to a grading service. Because just one confirmation could change your life. Collectors have turned ordinary-looking coins into retirement funds, college tuition, even full-blown estates. And it all starts with curiosity. You don't need to be a millionaire to find one. You just need to look closely. So the next time you dump out that jar of coins, don't rush. There could be history and fortune sitting right in front of you. The 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of metal. It's a symbol of possibility, proof that miracles can hide in plain sight. It's a reminder that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest surprises. But when one collector took a closer look, he realized he was holding a 2014 D Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, it would soon be valued at over $1.5 million. That's right. A single penny, worth more than a house. This story begins with a mistake, one so small, even the US Mint didn't notice it at first. It was 2014. Denver was striking billions of new Lincoln pennies for circulation. Most came out perfectly: uniform color, sharp details, flawless design. But somewhere, deep inside the minting machinery, one press malfunctioned for just a few minutes, and those few minutes would change the life of one very lucky person forever. Collectors call it the $1 million minting mystery. The error was invisible to the untrained eye. A microscopic misalignment, a doubling of the design that caused certain details, like Lincoln's ear, or parts of the date, to appear ever so slightly doubled. It wasn't dramatic enough for anyone to notice at first glance. But to a coin expert, that subtle doubling meant one thing: a rare minting anomaly, and that anomaly can be worth a fortune. But that's not the only reason this penny's value skyrocketed. You see, in the world of coins, it's never just about age or rarity. It's about perfection. And this particular 2014 D penny was graded MS69 red, nearly flawless, a perfect survivor from billions of others that came off the same line. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this penny surfaced at an auction in 2023, bidders went absolutely wild. It started small, a few $1,000s here, then tens of thousands, but within minutes, it had crossed six figures. By the time the final gavel fell, this single 1-cent coin had sold for nearly $1.50 million. Yes, 1 penny, $1.5 million. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were calling it the modern miracle. Forums lit up overnight with people rushing to check their change jars, their coffee tins, their piggy banks, everyone wondering. You see, the 2014 D Mint Mark penny wasn't supposed to be anything special. It was struck in copper-plated zinc, the same as every other penny since 1982. But a few coins from Denver in that year showed unique characteristics: misaligned dies, doubled features, and even off-center strikes. Most were tossed aside unnoticed until one collector spotted that telltale sign under a magnifying glass. He'd been collecting for years, never expecting much. One evening, sorting through a batch of loose change, he saw something odd about Lincoln's eye, a faint shadow, a slight doubling. He thought it was just a reflection, until he took out his jeweler's loupe. What he saw next made his heart race. That's when he realized this wasn't a regular penny. It was a once-in-a-generation minting error. He sent it off to PCGS for grading, and when the report came back, it confirmed his wildest hopes. 2014 D, double die obverse, mint state 69 red. The appraisers couldn't believe how sharp the strike was, how perfect the luster remained after all these years. A minting miracle indeed, but here's the crazy part: this wasn't the only one. A handful of 2014 D Lincoln pennies with similar traits have been found since then, and each one sells for more than the last. Some have fetched $10,000, others $50,000, and at least one hit the $1 million mark. Why? Because these coins represent something deeper than money. They're proof that hidden treasure still exists, not buried in the ground, but sitting right in our pockets. Collectors say that the Denver Mint's 2014 penny run was one of the smoothest in modern history, which makes these rare errors even more shocking. How could a perfect system produce $1 million coin? That's the mystery that still fascinates experts today. But let's pause for a second. Because this is where most people miss the magic. The average person glances at a penny and sees 1 cent. Maybe it's shiny, maybe it's dull. Maybe it's stuck to the bottom of your car cup holder. But true collectors know, every penny has a story, and the 2014 D penny's story is one of those rare ones that makes the heart skip a beat. Imagine the journey of that coin, struck in Denver, packed into a roll, shipped to a bank, handed out in change for a soda, tossed into a drawer, forgotten for years, until one ordinary day, someone's curiosity changed everything. But what happened next made history. That discovery triggered a frenzy. People began scouring through 2014 penny rolls from Denver, hoping to find the telltale doubling or the pristine red finish that signals an untouched coin. Dealers started offering bounties for verified specimens. YouTube coin channels exploded with tutorials on how to spot the $1 million penny, and still, most of them remain hidden. Experts estimate that fewer than 20 of these ultra-rare 2014 D varieties have ever been confirmed in mint-state condition. The rest? Probably jingling around in cash registers, pocket change, or stuck between couch cushions right now. Now here's where you come in. Because if you're watching this video, you might be closer than you think to holding one. Start with the mint mark, a clear D beneath the date. Under magnification, check for doubling on Lincoln's eye ear or the Liberty lettering. A true double die will show distinct separation lines, not just a blur or reflection. Next, inspect the color. A coin that's bright red or reddish-orange with a strong luster is likely uncirculated. That's where the big money lies. Finally, check the strike. If Lincoln's details look unusually sharp, crisp hairlines, clear bow tie, full rim, you might just have one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. And if you think that's exciting, wait until you realize how easily these can go unnoticed. Many people have spent them without ever realizing what they had. But that's what makes stories like this so incredible. Because every now and then, a forgotten penny reminds us that luck still exists, and that the next millionaire might not be holding a lottery ticket, but a piece of copper-plated history. Collectors were stunned when the first one sold for over $1 million. Some called it luck. Others called it destiny. But one thing's for sure, it reignited the passion of thousands of everyday people who suddenly realized that hidden wealth might be sitting right in their hands. So, before you spend that spare change, take a closer look. Check every 2014 D penny that passes through your hands. Because with the right combination of rarity, perfection, and timing, even a 1-cent coin can rewrite your story. This is the unbelievable story of the 1979 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that, at first glance, looks just like every other copper-colored cent you've seen your whole life. But beneath its plain surface lies one of the most astonishing minting mysteries of the modern era. Some of these coins, due to a rare combination of errors and perfect preservation, are now worth up to $1.6 million. And yes, one might be sitting in your pocket right now. The year was 1979. Gas was cheap, disco was dying, and the Denver Mint was working overtime producing billions of Lincoln cents. That's right, billions. Over 4 billion to be exact. With that kind of volume, mistakes were inevitable. But one particular batch, one tiny run of coins, would change everything. At first, no one noticed anything unusual. The coins left the mint, entered circulation, and disappeared into the endless flow of commerce: vending machines, grocery stores, cash drawers, kids' piggy banks. Then, a decade later, collectors began whispering about a strange 1979 D penny that didn't quite match the rest. Under normal light, it looked fine: Lincoln's face, the "In God We Trust" motto, the familiar memorial on the reverse. But under magnification, sharp-eyed collectors saw something that shouldn't be there. The D Mint mark was doubled. It wasn't just a faint blur. On some examples, the doubling was bold, crisp, and unmistakable, a rare and shocking minting error that made numismatists sit up straight. Suddenly, this humble coin transformed into a legend. But that's not where the story ends. Because not all 1979 D pennies with doubling are valuable. Only a tiny fraction have the perfect combination of error, condition, and rarity. And that's where things get wild. One pristine example, certified by professional graders as nearly flawless, surfaced at auction. It looked as though it had never been touched by human hands. The shine was mirror-like, the details razor-sharp. When the hammer dropped, that penny fetched an unbelievable price, nearly $1.6 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were calling each other in disbelief. The news spread like wildfire across the coin world. But what happened next stunned everyone even more. People started digging through their coin jars, junk drawers, and glove compartments. Coin shops were suddenly crowded with folks holding handfuls of 1979 pennies, praying they had the $1 million version. Some did find small treasures, minor errors, slight die cracks, or beautiful mint-state examples worth hundreds or even thousands. But only a few lucky souls uncovered the real gems, the ultra-rare, near-perfect 1979 D Lincoln pennies that the grading companies practically drool over. First, flip it under good light and look for the D Mint mark right beneath the ear. It should be bold, clear, and not smeared. Now look closer, use a magnifying glass or your phone's zoom. If you see a doubling on that D, like two letters slightly overlapping, that's your first major clue. Next, inspect Lincoln's profile. The sharpness of the hairlines, the clarity of the date, and even the lettering on Liberty can hint at whether your coin was struck from a fresh die or one that degraded over time. Coins from crisp, early die strikes often carry the highest value. Then, flip it over. On the reverse, the Lincoln memorials should show clean, defined lines, especially the columns. If they're blurry or doubled, that could mean another error, a double die reverse, which collectors go crazy for. But here's where it gets tricky. Many of these details are so subtle, even seasoned collectors miss them. That's why experts recommend sending potentially valuable coins to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Because if you're sitting on one of those flawless 1979 D pennies, the right certification could mean the difference between $2 and over $1 million. Now, imagine this for a second, finding one of these coins in your loose change. You toss your pennies onto the table, glance at the dates, and suddenly, there it is, 1979D. Your heart starts racing. You grab a magnifying glass, and you spot it. The doubling. The shine. The detail. That's the moment collectors live for, the lightning strike of discovery that turns ordinary life into a once-in-a-lifetime story. It's happened before. One collector in California found a near-pristine example while sorting through a box of pennies he bought from the bank. He thought it was just another copper cent, until he noticed that tiny doubling. After grading and verification, the coin was valued at well over $1 million. His jaw dropped. Imagine that, turning a 1-cent coin into a life-changing fortune. But the real magic of the 1979 D penny isn't just in its price tag. It's in what it represents, the possibility that hidden value still exists, waiting to be found by anyone with curiosity and a sharp eye. And that's why this story continues to capture imaginations decades later. Because while most people overlook their change, true collectors know that every coin has a story, and sometimes, that story is worth $1 million. Now, let's get practical for a moment. If you're searching your coins, here's exactly what to do. Start by separating all your 1979 pennies into two piles, those with a D mint mark and those without. The D mint mark is found just below the date on the front of the coin. You're looking specifically for the Denver versions, since that's where the magic happened. Then, under good lighting, tilt the coin gently. The light can reveal doubling, die cracks, or unusual surface features that might not be visible from straight on. Look especially at the D mint mark, the numbers in the date, and the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. If you see anything unusual, doubling, extra lines, or strange marks, set that coin aside. Handle it carefully by the edges only. Even a single fingerprint can reduce value. And don't clean it. Never, ever clean your coins. Collectors want original surfaces. Cleaning can cut the value in half instantly. Instead, protect it in a small holder and take it to a local coin dealer for a second opinion. You might just walk out with a smile and a check that could change your life. And remember, condition matters more than anything. The highest grade coins, those that look fresh from the mint, with full luster and no scratches, are the ones that bring 6 or 7 figures at auction. Even a small blemish can make the difference between a few hundred and a few $100,000. Still, even circulated 1979 D pennies with minor errors can sell for impressive amounts. Some have fetched $5,000, $10,000, even more, depending on the clarity of the doubling and overall condition. So, the next time you're about to toss your spare change into a jar, take a closer look. Because that dull little penny you almost ignored might just be the key to your $1 million miracle. Collectors were shocked when this coin's true worth came to light. Dealers are still hunting for examples in the wild. And ordinary people, like you and me, have found life-changing value in the most unexpected places. Imagine finding a single penny that could change your life. 1 cent turning into a fortune, just because of one tiny detail most people never notice. But that's exactly what happened with this mysterious 2013 penny, a coin so ordinary, it fooled millions of Americans for years. The story begins quietly, back in 2013. The U.S. Mint released billions of Lincoln pennies that year. Most of them were worth, well, 1 cent. But in the middle of all that mass production, something strange happened. Somewhere inside the mint's powerful machines, an unnoticed error was born. A few pennies were struck without a mint mark. Now, to most people, that might sound like no big deal. But to coin collectors, that's the holy grail. Because a missing mint mark can mean one of two things: a rare experimental strike, or a serious minting mistake. And both can skyrocket a coin's value from 1 cent to over $1 million. But what makes this 2013 no mint mark penny so special isn't just the missing letter. It's what happened next. A man in Ohio, an average collector, bought a small bag of loose change from a flea market. He wasn't expecting much, maybe a few older wee pennies if he got lucky. But as he sorted through the pile, one coin caught his eye. The shine looked different. The color was off. And when he flipped it over, he noticed something strange. No mint mark. No D for Denver. No P for Philadelphia. Just the simple date, 2013. He thought it might be nothing. But curiosity got the best of him. He posted a picture online in a coin forum. Within hours, the comments exploded. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were begging for more photos. Some even offered thousands of dollars before any official grading was done. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the coin was finally authenticated by experts, they confirmed it. This wasn't just any missing mark. It was a unique mint error, caused by an early dye mix-up. The metal composition was slightly off too. The copper layer was thinner than usual, creating a strange tone that made it shimmer under certain light. Words spread fast. Major collectors started calling. Auction houses lined up. And when the gavel finally dropped, the final price was jaw-dropping, $1.7 million. One single penny. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle. Since then, collectors across the country have been obsessed. They're digging through jars, searching rolls, scouring eBay listings, and even checking every penny they get in change from the grocery store. Everyone's asking the same question: could there be more out there? But here's where things get really interesting. There isn't just one version of the 2013 no mint mark penny. There are subtle variations. Some show light doubling on Lincoln's eye. Others have a faint ghost of a mint mark, almost invisible to the naked eye. And then there's the ultra-rare strike, perfectly centered, sharp details, flawless copper plating, the kind that sends grading experts into a frenzy. Dealers have said that even circulated examples could fetch thousands. But those in pristine, uncirculated condition? They could easily soar into 6 or 7 figures, if authenticated. But here's the catch. Many people don't even realize they're holding one. The 2013 design looks nearly identical to any modern Lincoln penny. You could easily mistake it for the one you used to pay for a cup of coffee. First, check for the mint mark under the date. If your penny says 2013 and has no D or P, don't just toss it aside. Look closely with a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Make sure the space under the date is completely blank. No faint marks, no scratches, nothing. Second, examine the color. Genuine error pennies often have an unusual tone, almost like a cross between copper and rose gold. It may even appear darker around the edges because of uneven plating. Third, look for sharp, crisp details on Lincoln's face, jacket, and lettering. The more defined these are, the higher your coin's potential value. Coins that were struck with early dyes often have mirror-like surfaces, a sign of limited production. And finally, get it authenticated. If you think you've got one, never clean it. Never polish it. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A verified grade can be the difference between $10 and $1.70 million. But let's rewind for a second. Why is this coin worth so much in the first place? After all, the mint makes mistakes all the time. The truth lies in timing. By 2013, technology at the US Mint was incredibly advanced. Every machine was calibrated to perfection. Quality control was tighter than ever. So when a coin without a mint mark slipped through, it was nearly impossible, a 1 in a billion fluke. Collectors realized that something like this shouldn't even exist. And that's what drove the price sky high. It wasn't just a coin. It was proof that even in an era of precision and automation, human error could still create a masterpiece worth millions. And that emotional connection, that sense of owning a piece of a story that shouldn't exist, is what makes coin collecting magical. Think about it. Every coin you touch has traveled through hands, pockets, and decades of stories. It's been part of someone's life, someone's memory, someone's ordinary moment. Until, one day, it becomes extraordinary. That's exactly what happened with the 2013 no mint mark penny. Collectors describe holding one as electric, like holding lightning in your hand. Some say they even feel nervous touching it, knowing it's worth more than a luxury car, a house, maybe even their retirement fund. But what makes this story even more thrilling is the mystery that still surrounds it. No one knows exactly how many were made. The mint never officially confirmed the error. That silence only added fuel to the fire. Some experts believe there could be a handful still out there, sitting unnoticed in someone's collection or coin jar. Others think only a few escaped, making this coin one of the rarest modern U.S. pennies ever discovered, and that's what keeps collectors awake at night. Because finding one could change everything. Just picture it, you're sorting through spare change, maybe looking for something to roll up for the bank. You spot a 2013 penny. You almost ignore it. But something makes you pause. You take a closer look. No mint mark. The color seems richer, the strike sharper. Your heart starts to race. That's the kind of dream that keeps the coin world alive. Collectors were shocked when the first one hit the market. Dealers were stunned when the price crossed $1 million. And now, every new discovery adds a new twist to the legend of the 2013 no mint mark Lincoln penny. So before you spend that loose change or toss your coins into a jar, take a second look. That small copper coin might just be your ticket to $1 million discovery. Remember, look under the date, check the shine, and always trust your curiosity. Because history has a funny way of hiding treasures in plain sight. So keep searching, keep believing, and keep your eyes open, because your life-changing penny could be waiting for you. That's right, a simple 2019 Lincoln penny, the kind you might still find jingling in your change, has shaken the entire coin collecting world. People are searching through their jars, drawers, and old wallets right now, because this unassuming little cent, with no mint mark, has a secret that could make its owner a millionaire. It all started quietly. 2019 was just another year for the US Mint. Billions of pennies struck and sent into circulation. Nothing out of the ordinary. Or so it seemed. But somewhere in that massive production line, something strange happened. A minting anomaly. A subtle, nearly invisible mistake that would change everything. At first, nobody noticed. These pennies slipped through coin counters, registers, and parking meters without a second thought. But when collectors began spotting unusual details, a faint doubling, a shifted design, a missing mint mark where one should have been, curiosity turned to disbelief. Because this wasn't just any missing letter. The no mint mark 2019 Lincoln penny carried microscopic traits suggesting it came from a test strike. Possibly an early batch struck before mint marks were applied, or even a unique die used for pre-production verification. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One sharp-eyed collector from Ohio, sorting through a box of rolled pennies he'd bought from a local bank, spotted something off. The coin's surface shimmered differently under the light, crisp, flawless, with a strange reflective sheen uncommon for circulation strikes. When he flipped it over, the absence of a mint mark caught his eye. He sent it off for authentication, expecting a small premium. But when the grading results came back, his hands shook. The expert's report confirmed it, a unique 2019 no mint mark Lincoln penny, struck in exceptional condition, likely one of the rarest modern errors ever found. Word spread like wildfire. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were frantic. How could a coin made just a few years ago be worth over $1 million? The answer lay in its rarity. Mint errors in modern times are rare enough, but a high-grade, uncirculated penny with no mint mark from 2019? Practically unheard of. Some experts believe it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint using experimental dies intended for testing coin presses, a process that was never meant to reach the public. Somehow, one slipped out. And it only takes one. Within months, coin forums were exploding with speculation. People began hoarding 2019 pennies, scouring every coin roll they could find. Dealers were offering hundreds, then thousands, just for the chance to examine a potential match. Then came the bombshell. At a private auction, one of these mysterious no-mint Mark 2019 pennies sold for over $1.5 million. The room went silent. Gasps. Whispers. The auctioneer's gavel came down, and collectors knew the modern coin market had just changed forever. Take a closer look, and I mean really close. Under magnification, some of these rare coins show doubling on Lincoln's year and the date, a subtle shadow effect caused by die misalignment during striking. The lettering, especially the "In God We Trust" motto, may appear thicker or slightly doubled. And the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial, can sometimes show signs of weak detail or uneven pressure. In 2019, most pennies were struck at either the Philadelphia or Denver Mint. Philadelphia pennies technically don't carry a mint mark, but the specific texture, finish, and strike characteristics of this rare variety are what set it apart. Most 2019 Philly strikes have faint marks or standard die lines. This one is razor sharp, with mirror-like fields, the kind of surface seen only on proof or early die-state coins. Collectors call it the phantom proof, a circulation coin with the soul of a collector's strike. But what's really wild is how close it came to disappearing forever. The man who found it said he almost dumped the roll back into a Coinstar machine after skimming through it. "It looked like every other penny," he said. "But something told me to check again." That moment, that tiny spark of curiosity, turned into a life-changing discovery worth $1.5 million. Think about that. One penny. Worth more than most houses. Coin historians began to investigate the anomaly. Some traced the error to a batch of test dies accidentally used for a short run before being replaced. Others suggested it was a press calibration issue that created a batch of coins with unusual strike pressure and luster. Whatever the cause, the rarity is undeniable. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. It's the kind of find that reminds us why we still check our change. Why, even in a digital world, something as small as a copper coin can hold the power to change someone's life overnight. But the story doesn't end there. After the $1 million sale, fake listings began popping up online. Scammers trying to pass off ordinary 2019 pennies as the real deal. That's why knowing what to look for is critical. If you've got a 2019 penny with no mint mark, inspect it carefully. Look for that distinct mirror-like surface, clean rims, and sharp strike, especially around Lincoln's beard, hair, and the lettering. Any doubling or proof-like reflectivity could indicate a special die strike. And don't clean the coin, ever. Cleaning can destroy its numismatic value instantly. Leave it as is and get it professionally graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. Even a slightly lower grade version of this variety could fetch tens of thousands of dollars. The discovery has reignited the passion of collectors across America. Coin shows now buzz with people sharing stories, holding magnifying glasses under bright lights, hoping to catch a glimpse of that elusive shine. "This coin gives people hope," one dealer said. "It reminds us that treasures still exist, right in our pockets." And that's the magic of it all. Every time you get change at the grocery store or grab a handful of coins from your car cup holder, you're holding tiny pieces of history. Some are ordinary, but some, just like this 2019 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, are extraordinary. Imagine walking into a coffee shop, paying with exact change, and realizing one of those pennies you just gave away could have been worth over $1 million. It's not just luck, it's awareness. The people who find these treasures are the ones who look closely, who take the extra second to check. So if you've got a jar full of pennies, tonight might be the night to go through them. Look for that 2019 date. Look for that missing mint mark. Check for that brilliant luster and double detail. Because while most of these coins are worth just 1 cent, a handful are worth a fortune, up to $1.5 million, to be exact. It looked like any other penny. Brown, dull, maybe even a little scratched from years of use. The kind you'd ignore on the sidewalk, or toss into a jar without a second thought. But this tiny coin, struck in 2007 with a DE mint mark from Denver, hides a story that's turning the coin world upside down. Because one of these Lincoln pennies, believed to be ordinary pocket change, was found to be worth up to $1.6 million. And the reason why will leave you speechless. It all started when a collector in Colorado came across a penny that just didn't feel right. The color was off, almost golden under the light. The edges were sharper, the details unusually crisp. It wasn't until he placed it under a magnifying glass that he saw something strange, an error so small, it would go unnoticed by millions of people. But that tiny flaw was worth a fortune. Most 2070 pennies were made from zinc coated with a thin layer of copper. But in an extraordinary twist of fate, a small batch was struck on leftover bronze planchets, the kind used decades earlier. Imagine that, an outdated metal blank accidentally fed into the Denver Mint's modern presses. The result? A coin born out of pure minting chaos, part of one era, printed in another. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this era penny surfaced at auction, experts couldn't believe their eyes. The weight didn't match, the color didn't match, even the ring it made when dropped on a table was different. After days of testing and authentication, it was confirmed, a genuine transitional error. The kind of coin most collectors only dream about. And here's the kicker, the bidding war was fierce. Collectors from across the country battled over this penny like it was buried treasure. Prices climbed higher and higher until the hammer dropped at a jaw-dropping $1.6 million. Think about that for a second. A 1-cent coin that could pay off your mortgage, buy a new home, or change your life forever. The answer lies deep in the world of minting secrets, tiny mistakes that happen in fractions of a second. You see, every coin is struck with immense pressure between two dies. But if the wrong metal blank is used, or if a die from another year slips into the press, it can create an anomaly so rare that it becomes priceless. And that's exactly what makes this 2007 penny so special. Most people think mint errors are easy to spot, off-center strikes, double dies, missing letters. But not this one. This one hides in plain sight. It looks normal, until you hold it just right under the light, and notice how the copper color is slightly deeper, the texture slightly different. It looked ordinary, until I heard it drop. That sound, it was different. Heavier. Richer. Dealers were shocked. Experts called it a once-in-a-generation find. And collectors? They were scrambling through their jars, boxes, and old coffee tins, hoping to uncover the same miracle. But here's where it gets even crazier. Some of these rare 2007 pennies may still be out there, unnoticed. Mixed into circulation. Passed through cash registers, gas stations, or even your change from the grocery store. It's the kind of thought that keeps collectors awake at night. The idea that your next handful of change could hold $1 million secret. But what's even more fascinating is how unpredictable these discoveries are. The Denver Mint produced billions of pennies in 2007. Yet somehow, a few slip through the cracks, carrying the wrong composition or striking anomalies like doubled dies and misaligned strikes. These mistakes create subtle but valuable differences that the human eye can catch, if you know what to look for. So let's talk about that. If you want to know whether your 2007 penny could be the one worth a fortune, start by grabbing a small scale. A normal 2007 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams, because it's made mostly of zinc. But the rare bronze transitional era weighs around 3.1 grams. That small difference could mean a payday beyond your imagination. Next, check the color under a bright light. The rare ones have a warmer, reddish-brown tone, more like the old pre-1982 pennies. And finally, take a close look at the date and mint mark under magnification. Some 2007 pennies have faint doubling on the Liberty, or In God We Trust. Those doubled dies are worth thousands, and in pristine condition, potentially hundreds of thousands. But here's a twist few people know. One of the first $1 million 2007 pennies was discovered not by a collector, but by a regular man sorting through a charity donation jar. He thought he was just helping count coins for a local fundraiser, until one penny caught his eye. It had a strange tone and looked almost brand new despite being from 2007. He pocketed it out of curiosity, and months later, a local coin dealer confirmed it was a major mint error. That man's ordinary afternoon turned into a life-changing day, And maybe, just maybe, your story could be next. Because hidden in those piles of loose change, in old drawers, glove compartments, or forgotten piggy banks, could be a tiny piece of history waiting to be rediscovered. A penny that defied the odds, and turned into pure gold for whoever found it. Most people will never notice. They'll spend it without a glance, unaware that they just handed over something worth millions. It's the ultimate modern treasure hunt, and it's happening in plain sight. Every year, new discoveries shake the numismatic world. And every time one surfaces, it reignites hope among collectors everywhere, that maybe the next big find is still out there, hidden among everyday coins. And the 2007 D penny proves it. A coin so small, so common, yet carrying a secret powerful enough to change a life. So before you toss that handful of pennies into a jar, take a closer look. Grab a magnifying glass, a scale, and some patience. Because the next $1 million coin isn't in a museum, it's in someone's pocket. So don't stop looking. Don't stop checking your change. Because one day, that dull, forgotten penny in your palm might turn out to be your $1 million miracle. A small, copper-colored penny from 1985, something you've probably seen thousands of times, has stunned the entire coin-collecting world. And the reason why? A microscopic mistake. A minting error so rare that it turned a 1-cent coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Imagine this: you're at the grocery store, buying your morning coffee. The cashier hands you some change. You toss it into your pocket, not realizing one of those coins, that unassuming 1985 D penny, could secretly be worth more than your house. But this story doesn't start at a checkout counter. It begins deep inside the Denver Mint in 1985. Machines were running at full speed, producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. Copper-plated zinc planchets clattered, presses thundered, and coins spilled out like a river of red metal. Everything was business as usual, until something went wrong. Somewhere in that blur of machinery, a tiny imperfection slipped through, a double-struck die, a slight off-center press, or an unexpected blend in the metal composition. Nobody noticed. The flawed pennies mixed in with the rest, bagged, boxed, and shipped across America, and for decades they circulated quietly. Passed from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, never revealing their secret. But then, one day, a collector in Colorado stumbled upon something strange. He noticed his 1985 D penny didn't look quite right. The surface shimmered differently under the light. The D mint mark appeared slightly misplaced, and Lincoln's bust looked subtly doubled, like a faint shadow running alongside his profile. When he showed it to a local coin dealer, the dealer froze. "You might want to sit down," he said. "This could be something big." Experts later confirmed what no one expected: this wasn't an ordinary penny. It was an ultra-rare minting anomaly, a perfect storm of misaligned dies and unique striking pressure. A coin that technically shouldn't exist. And when it finally hit the auction block, bidders went wild. What started as a casual appraisal turned into a bidding war that ended with one jaw-dropping number: $1.7 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were calling it the discovery of the decade. And ever since that moment, the 1985 D Lincoln penny has become one of the most talked about coins in American numismatic history. The answer lies in the details. Most 1985 D pennies were struck on standard copper-plated zinc planchets. But in a few mysterious cases, a handful were accidentally struck using leftover copper planchets, the same kind used before 1982. That means these coins are heavier, richer in color, and resonate with a deeper metallic tone when dropped. Now, that's not the only clue. Some of these rare 1985 D pennies display a double die obverse, meaning Lincoln's features, particularly his eye, lips, and the word Liberty, appears slightly doubled under magnification. This doubling effect happens when the die shifts slightly between strikes, and it's one of the most sought-after errors in coin collecting. And here's where it gets wild. Some experts believe that even fewer than 10 of these error coins may exist in top condition. That's rarer than many gold coins, rarer than most silver dollars, and almost mythical in the world of Lincoln cents. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After that first $1 million sale, word spread fast. Collectors across the country began raiding their old jars, boxes, and albums. Pawn shops saw a flood of 1985 pennies being tested, weighed, and examined. For weeks, it felt like a modern-day gold rush, except the treasure was hiding in plain sight, disguised as pocket change. And here's the craziest part: more discoveries followed. Another collector from Texas found one with a visible die clash mark behind Lincoln's head, a ghostly outline of the reversed design showing through. Experts graded it at MS68 red, almost flawless, and estimated its potential worth at nearly $800,000. Still, the original $1 million specimen remains the crown jewel, the one coin that proved miracles can happen even in modern minting. The mid-1980s were a transitional period for the U.S. Mint. The move from solid copper to zinc-coated planchets was still relatively fresh, and equipment was being recalibrated. Tiny misalignments, temperature fluctuations, and leftover materials sometimes led to unexpected results. The Denver Mint, in particular, was running massive production numbers, over 5 billion pennies that year, and in that chaos, a few magical mistakes were born. Now, let's pause for a second. Think about it: over 5 billion 1985 pennies were struck, and maybe a handful, literally just a few, are worth a life-changing fortune. That's like winning the rarest lottery in American coin history. And that's what makes this story so powerful. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. A coin he almost spent on a cup of coffee turned into a treasure that changed his life forever. Collectors everywhere were inspired. Forums lit up. Videos, articles, and Reddit threads exploded with questions. Could my 1985 penny be the one? How do I check for the error? What does it look like? So let's talk about how you can find out. First, grab any 1985 penny with a D mint mark, that tiny letter below the date. That D stands for Denver. Place it on a digital scale. A normal zinc penny should weigh 2.5 grams. But if yours weighs around 3.1 grams, you might be holding one of the rare copper planchet errors. Next, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to inspect Lincoln's profile and the lettering. Look especially at Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, 1985. If you see any doubling, ghosting, or faint overlapping lines, that's a strong sign of a double die strike. Also, check the color. True copper planchets have a warmer, reddish tone compared to the duller, brighter look of zinc coins. Under natural light, copper coins glow slightly, zinc ones don't. Finally, pay attention to the sound. A simple drop test on a hard surface can help. A copper penny makes a clear, ringing ting. Zinc ones make a flat, quick tink. It's a small difference, but collectors swear by it. If you think you've found something special, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Instead, take it to a professional grader, like PCGS or NGC, for authentication. A certified label can multiply your coin's market value overnight. Even if your coin isn't the $1 million variety, some 1985 pennies with minor doubling or high mint state conditions still sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Every discovery counts. Every coin tells a story. So before you toss that handful of pennies into a jar or a parking meter, stop. Look closely. Because that small, forgotten piece of change could hold a secret fortune. The 1985 Lincoln penny reminds us that treasures don't always come in gold or silver. Sometimes, they hide in plain sight, in something so ordinary, you'd never suspect it's worth $1 million. So check your change. Search your drawers. Look through those dusty jars sitting on your shelf, because the next 1985 penny worth $1.70 million could be sitting right in your pocket. And if you want to keep uncovering hidden gems like this, subscribe to this channel. Every week, we reveal the secrets behind America's most valuable coins and the stories that turn pocket change into priceless history. It's the 1996 Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary, most people wouldn't give it a second glance. But one small, nearly invisible flaw turned it into one of the most valuable modern U.S. coins ever discovered, worth up to $1.8 million. You're cleaning out an old drawer, sorting through a pile of loose change, when you notice something, a faint detail that doesn't look quite right. You hold it closer to the light, and your heart starts racing. Could this be it? Could this be the coin collectors whisper about? The 1990-60 era penny that changed lives? But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back to where this story begins. The year was 1996. The Denver Mint was running at full steam, producing billions of Lincoln cents. The machines were hot, the dies were under pressure, and the goal was quantity, not perfection. Somewhere in that chaos, something unusual happened. A minting die, used to stamp the image of Abraham Lincoln onto the blank copper-plated zinc discs, suffered a microscopic shift. To the human eye, it was almost undetectable. But when that die struck the coin, a unique flaw was born. A doubled image, a distorted D, or in some cases, a faint misalignment that made Lincoln's profile look slightly off. Most of these flawed coins were caught, melted, and replaced. But a few slipped through the cracks. They were bagged, boxed, and shipped out into circulation, scattered across America like tiny golden tickets waiting to be found. And that's where the legend began. For years, nobody noticed. The 1990-60 penny blended right in, tossed into pockets, spent at gas stations, dropped between couch cushions. Until one collector, in the early 2000s, spotted something strange. The D mint mark looked thicker, like it had been struck twice. The lettering around the rim was ever so slightly stretched. He sent it to be graded. And what came back shocked everyone. The coin was real, an authentic 1990-60 minting error, and its condition was nearly flawless. It sold for a life-changing sum, somewhere north of $1.80 million. That's right. Somewhere, in old penny jars and forgotten coffee cans, might lie another one of these million-dollar mistakes. And what makes this even crazier is how hard it is to spot. Collectors who've seen the coin up close describe it as subtle but mesmerizing. The D mint mark, instead of being crisp and centered, appears slightly thicker on one side, a sign of a die doubling. On some versions, Lincoln's profile shows faint ghosting, almost like a shadow version of his nose or jaw. But there's one telltale clue that separates the real deal from lookalikes: the lettering on Liberty. On the valuable 1990-60 error, the letters appear stretched, almost bubbled. It's not something you can fake easily. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After news broke about the million-dollar sale, collectors everywhere began tearing through their change. Pawn shops saw a sudden flood of 1996 pennies. Metal detectors buzzed across parks and fields. Everyone wanted in on the hunt. Some found near-miss varieties, minor errors that sold for hundreds, even thousands. A few found coins with die cracks, off-center strikes, and odd plating anomalies. But that one perfect coin, the one graded near mint, with flawless doubling in that magical D, remains one of the most mysterious finds in modern coin history. And yet, the story doesn't end there. In recent years, more reports have surfaced of strange 1990-60 pennies appearing at local shows and online auctions. Some experts claim there are a few sister coins, struck from the same flawed die but showing slightly different pressure marks. If authenticated, those could each fetch hundreds of thousands, or even break the million-dollar barrier again. Finding a 1990-60 error like this is like finding lightning in a bottle. It's rare, unpredictable, but when it hits, it changes everything. Imagine that. A single penny, the smallest coin in your pocket, capable of rewriting your life. It's the ultimate underdog story. And what makes it so incredible is that it could happen to anyone. Maybe your grandparent has an old jar of coins in the attic. Maybe your childhood piggy bank still hides a few pre-2000 pennies. You could be holding a fortune without even realizing it. Collectors were shocked when they saw how much one of these coins fetched. Dealers began rushing to get their hands on any high-grade 1990-60 penny they could find, just in case lightning struck twice. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million often comes down to condition and precision. If you suspect you've got a rare one, don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't even rub it with your fingers. Handle it gently by the edges and take clear, close-up photos. Then compare it to certified examples from major grading services like PCGS or NGC. If the D looks doubled, if Lincoln's face shows faint shadowing, or if the letters of Liberty seem a little off, get that coin appraised immediately. Because here's the truth, 1996 wasn't a year known for errors. The mint had nearly perfected its modern processes. So when something slipped through, it was rare, truly rare. And rarity drives value. That's why collectors are still obsessed with this coin nearly 3 decades later. The next time you get change at the store, don't just toss those pennies aside. Check the date. Look closely under Lincoln's portrait for that tiny D. Examine every curve, every shine, every small imperfection, because one of those little copper coins could hold a secret worth $1.8 million. And here's a story to remember. A man in Texas once found one of the rarest pennies ever while counting coins with his daughter. It had a small misprint he almost ignored. But something told him to hold on to it. 2 months later, after professional grading, that worthless penny was valued at more than his entire car. That's the magic of coin collecting, a mix of luck, history, and sharp eyes. This isn't just about money. It's about mystery. It's about how something as small as a penny can carry decades of hidden history, and reward the people patient enough to notice. So the next time someone tells you pennies are worthless, smile. Because somewhere out there, a penny from 1996 with a D mint mark is quietly waiting to make someone a millionaire. But this 1973 D Lincoln penny almost ended up in the trash before someone realized it was worth nearly $1 million. There could be another one sitting in your change right now. This story isn't about luck. It's about a coin that shouldn't even exist the way it does. A coin born from a rare minting mistake, a bit of history, and a whole lot of mystery. So before you spend another penny, listen closely, because the next one you find might just change your life forever. Back in 1973, the U.S. Mint was in full swing. Millions of Lincoln pennies poured out of the Denver Mint, each one a tiny piece of American routine. Copper coins clinking into cash registers, pockets, and jars across the country. Nothing special. Or so everyone thought. But somewhere inside that mint, among the roar of the presses and the blur of production, something went wrong. A die was misaligned. A design slightly off. And a few coins, very few, left the building with hidden imperfections that would later make them worth a fortune. Collectors call them the 1973 D Lincoln penny errors, and they're the stuff of legend. At first glance, they look perfectly ordinary. Lincoln's familiar face, the "In God We Trust" motto, and that tiny D under the date. But under magnification, you might see it, a doubling on the date, or even on Lincoln's profile. Some show a faint doubling on the word Liberty, or the motto itself. Those small imperfections are what separate a 1-cent coin from a 1 in a million treasure. One man from Colorado learned this the hard way. He'd been collecting coins since childhood, mostly out of habit. One day, while sorting through a box of old change his father left behind, he found a 1973 D penny that caught his eye. Nothing seemed special until he noticed the mint mark looked slightly off, almost like it had been punched twice. He thought it was just a trick of the light, until he put it under a microscope. The D was doubled. The date, too. His hands started shaking. Could it be? He sent it to the professional coin grading service for authentication. Weeks later, the call came. You might want to sit down for this. It was real, and at auction, that same penny stunned the coin world when it sold for close to $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. News outlets ran headlines about a penny worth more than a house. But what happened next made things even stranger. As word spread, treasure hunters everywhere began combing through their jars of old change. People lined up at pawn shops with magnifying glasses and Ziploc bags full of pennies, hoping lightning would strike twice. And then, another surfaced. Not identical, but close. This one showed doubling on Lincoln's eye and the inscription. Experts confirmed it was a 1973 D doubled die obverse, one of the rarest in circulation. The discovery reignited the fire. Collectors whispered about hidden errors, off-center strikes, even transitional planchets that slipped past the mint's quality control. Some speculated that a few 1973 pennies were mistakenly struck on leftover bronze planchets from earlier years, instead of the intended brass composition. Those tiny differences, unseen to the naked eye, are what make these coins so unbelievably valuable. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all 1973 pennies are worth a fortune. In fact, most are still just worth 1 cent. The key lies in spotting the details. The mint mark, D, under the date should be crisp and centered. If it appears doubled, faintly shadowed, or looks like it's been punched twice, you could be holding something special. Also, check the date itself, 1973. Look closely at the 3. If it appears slightly thicker or has a shadow edge, it could indicate doubling. Flip the coin over. Examine the Lincoln Memorial. Some rare era coins show doubling on the columns or the words United States of America. And of course, condition is everything. Even a tiny scratch can reduce its value dramatically, but if you've got one in near mint condition, with full details and that unmistakable doubling, you could be sitting on a fortune. What makes the 1973 penny story so powerful is that it captures the imagination of every collector, because it reminds us that something so small, something we touch every day, could hold unimaginable value. Think about it. A penny that costs more than a luxury car. A piece of copper that can change someone's life. That's not just a coin. That's history hiding in plain sight. And the truth is, we still don't know how many of these rare 1973 errors are out there. Some believe fewer than a dozen exist in high grades. Others think there could be a small handful still lost in circulation, quietly waiting to be discovered. I in that old coffee tin. That forgotten drawer. That childhood piggy bank. You see, the magic of coin collecting isn't just in the coins themselves, it's in the stories they tell. The human moments they connect to. The thrill of turning over a coin and realizing you're holding a piece of the past worth more than gold. Every 1973 penny tells a story of craftsmanship, error, and luck colliding in one tiny copper disc. The next person to find one of these could be you. Because these coins didn't vanish. They didn't disappear into museums or vaults. Most are still out there, hidden among billions of ordinary pennies. So here's what you do. When you get your change back at the grocery store, check every penny. Grab a magnifying glass. Look for the D mint mark under the date, and inspect it for doubling or distortion. Look at Lincoln's face, the words, and the edges. Anything that seems just slightly off might be worth investigating. And if you think you've found something, don't clean it. Don't polish it. Just place it in a protective sleeve and take it to a certified coin dealer or grading service. Because even if it's not the $1 million one, a genuine 1973 doubled die or off-metal error can still fetch thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, depending on condition. Collectors are still talking about that Colorado discovery. How a penny sitting in a dusty jar turned into a life-changing payday. The world's most valuable treasures don't always shine. Sometimes, they're hiding in plain sight, in your pocket, waiting for the right person to notice. The 1973 Lincoln penny is proof of that. A humble coin, a tiny mistake, and $1 million miracle that still has the coin world buzzing to this day. So the next time you hold a penny, take a second look. Because the one you're about to spend might be the key to your biggest discovery yet. And who knows, the next person to make headlines for finding $1 million penny could be watching this video right now. It's valued at over $1.1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1984 Lincoln penny, a coin millions of Americans have held in their hands, could secretly be worth a fortune. The story behind this little copper treasure is one of mystery, luck, and an error so small that most people will never see it, but collectors would give anything to find it. Imagine paying for your morning coffee, handing over a penny that looks just like any other, and later discovering you just gave away a coin that could have changed your entire life. It all begins in 1984, at the Denver Mint. The U.S. Mint was striking billions of Lincoln cents, each stamped with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But somewhere in the chaos of production, a mistake happened, a tiny, nearly invisible doubling on Lincoln's face. To the untrained eye, the coin looks completely normal. But under magnification, you can see it, the faint doubling on Lincoln's ear. It's what collectors now call the double-ear penny. One simple misalignment in the minting process transformed this everyday coin into a collector's dream. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At first, no one noticed. For months, maybe years, these double-die coins slipped into circulation, tossed into jars, pockets, and piggy banks all across America. People used them for laundry, parking meters, even vending machines. And yet, buried in all that change was a small group of pennies that would one day make history. It wasn't until a sharp-eyed collector spotted something strange, a second outline on Lincoln's ear, that the truth came out. Word spread quickly through the numismatic community. Dealers were shocked. Forums exploded with speculation. Everyone wanted to know how many existed, and more importantly, if they had one sitting in their collection. One man even claimed he found his 1984 D penny in a roll of change from his local bank. He thought it was nothing special, until he took a closer look. That single roll, worth just 50 cents, turned into $1 million discovery. But here's where things get even more fascinating. Most 1984 pennies are worth only face value. A single cent. But if you find one with the doubling on Lincoln's ear, crisp, clear, and unmistakable, you could be holding a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars, or in pristine condition, up to $1.1 million at auction. Collectors say this coin represents one of the most dramatic examples of how tiny minting errors can change everything. It's not just a mistake, it's a piece of American history, frozen in metal. Imagine the journey of one of these pennies. Struck by accident, sent out with millions of others, jostled around in cash drawers and pockets for decades. Some were lost, some destroyed, and some are still out there, waiting for someone like you to find them. And here's the real twist. This doubling doesn't just appear on any 1984 penny. You specifically need the 1984 D, with the Denver Mint mark just below the date. Without that D, it's an entirely different story. That tiny letter makes all the difference. Dealers have called it one of the most underappreciated Lincoln cents of the modern era. And because it's still being discovered in circulation from time to time, hope is alive. Every new find sparks a wave of excitement, and sends collectors racing to check their coin jars. At a major U.S. coin auction, a flawless 1984 D double-ear penny sold for an eye-watering price, over $1 million. The audience was stunned. Some thought it was a fluke, others thought it was a new benchmark for modern-era coins. Either way, it set off a national hunt. Collectors were digging through their old change. Pawn shops saw a rush of people asking to have their pennies checked. Even longtime dealers couldn't believe how much attention this single coin was getting. But here's what most people don't know: not every doubling on Lincoln's ear is valuable. Some are machine doubling, caused by vibration, and those are worth almost nothing. The true $1 million version has a very specific look. Lincoln's earlobe appears doubled, with clear separation that doesn't blur into the rest of the design. Under magnification, you can actually see two distinct outlines of the ear. That's your key. That's what makes all the difference between a penny that's worth 1 cent and one that's worth over $1 million. But there's more. Some of these rare pennies have also shown stronger details on Lincoln's eye and jawline. Tiny clues that tell you the die used to strike them had shifted during minting. These microscopic signs of imperfection are what turn an ordinary coin into a jackpot. And while experts estimate only a handful of perfect specimens exist, no one truly knows how many are still out there. It's the uncertainty, the thrill of possibility, that keeps collectors searching. You open an old coin jar that's been sitting on your shelf for years. You start sifting through it, not expecting much. And then, under the right light, you see it, that faint, mysterious doubling on Lincoln's ear. You grab a magnifying glass, your heart starts pounding, and suddenly, you realize you might be holding one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. Collectors who've found these coins say the moment feels surreal, like striking gold, but in the most unexpected way. Because it's not about digging through ancient treasure or pirate chests, it's about finding something extraordinary hiding in the most ordinary place. And it's not just luck. It's attention. Patience. and curiosity. Every time you look at your change, you have a chance to discover history. That's what makes coin collecting so magical. It's not about how old a coin is, it's about what story it tells and what secrets it hides. The 1984 D. Lincoln penny tells a story of human error, of perfection gone slightly wrong, and of how that tiny mistake became $1 million miracle. So the next time you get change back at the grocery store, take a second look. Look closely at the date. Find the D mint mark. Then, study Lincoln's year carefully. If you see even the faintest sign of doubling, don't spend it, hold on to it. You could be holding your ticket to a life-changing discovery. And remember, it's not the shine or the color that matters most, it's the detail. Because the secret to this coin's value is hiding right where most people never look. Every collector dreams of finding that one coin that changes everything. For some, it's a silver dollar. For others, it's a rare wheat cent. But for you, it could be a simple 1984 D penny that's been waiting for decades to be noticed. Collectors are still searching, dealers are still amazed, and the legend of the 1984 D double-ear penny continues to grow.